that hello everybody. Hi,
Hey.
Naughty Boy here. It's 25 past 12 of midnight. It's 2022
Oh,
here.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy new year. Woohoo. So yeah, I've been in isolation for the last week, and what happened is that they've only just started putting kits out to the chemists.
Yeah.
Do you call them chemists there?
Yeah. We call it chemist over here.
They call them drugstores in America.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
But yeah, no, my own. I've got my own story going to a chemist over there. But like, they yeah, beeping. Is that the microwave?
Yeah, it's the microwave.
You-
It's
you-
not working. The microwave's not working. It's like the shark. The shark is not working. The microwave's not working.
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking of that one with, is it She Devil, where she puts the can of spray or whatever in that. Oh, she puts all the cans of spray into the microwave and leaves it going to blow up the house. Have you seen that with Roseanne Barr?
No, not yet. Just got to check on something. I'll be back. Sorry, just got to check on the microwave.
Yeah,
I think it's going to
no
explode.
worries.
Hold on a sec. I'll be back. I bet.
Yeah, look out for gremlins. Hey, Wendy, how are ya? It's just gone past midnight here. Actually, it's 12:30, and just hit 2022 in Australia. So we're having a little celebration. Woohoo! Yes, and so I was just talking to Mega Geek a little bit offline, but I've been in isolation for like a week, waiting to get tested because we don't have test kits or anything readily available, except in chemists, and they cost about $25 each. Yep, that's right. And but we weren't able to get them, so we got told by the government I had to go into isolation and wait till I got into the actual testing area, which was a bit like a meatworks, really. It was horrible. I absolutely did not like it in the slightest. Yeah, hello, Sadako. How are you? So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. It was the first time I've ever been to one of those COVID clinics, and I don't want to do that again, really. It took me forever to get into one of those, but yeah, took about 24 hours to find out that I was negative all along.
Bloody. Sorry.
You're right. You in the microwave.
The microwave's not working. I gotta go back in a minute and check it. It's really, it goes off. So it just suddenly just cuts the power for some reason, and it doesn't heat up the food. It's really annoying. And it's a new microwave as well.
Wendy, would you like to come on?
Wendy, would like to cook my food
come
for
on
me.
Too, if you let me know. Cook your food. I didn't eat till late anyway, so I was like.
So Australia's the first to, and Tasmania's the first.
New Zealand.
New Zealand is okay.
New Zealand's I think about half an hour to an hour earlier.
And you're second then.
Yeah.
In the world.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when we hit the millennium, we had so many famous celebrities over here at the time. It was we had Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they were all coming over here because that was when they were going to celebrate, 2000, and it was massive. Oh, Wendy, you're supposed to be working, are you?
She's working from home, so.
That's all right then. But that's okay if you can't.
She's listening in. She's like a stalker. You don't see her, but she's there.
I'm like annoying radio show host. So, I still haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife yet.
Oh, really?
It's not been opened yet. It's not been opened.
What about Spider-Man?
No, that's open, but it's been very hard to get into it.
Oh, right. It's really good,
very
though.
Popular.
Yeah, it's very good.
Everybody's spoiling it, and it's like really annoying. It's not Twitter, amazingly, which has been spoiling it. It's been Facebook.
And also YouTube as well, because people have just recorded off the screen in the cinema and just put all the bits on YouTube. Yeah, it's crazy.
No, I think I've seen most of the film now. But I'm looking at the memes and that, and I'm like, is that actually in the film? Because nothing
crazy.
had surprised me now. It's kind of weird because when I first heard that they were going to have Tobey Maguire and the other
Andrew.
fella in it,
Yeah.
Andrew, he's British, isn't he?
Yeah. Toby's American, and
Yeah,
Andrew and
and
the other
Tom's
fella.
British too, isn't he?
Yeah, they're both
But
British.
when I first heard about that, I was thinking, oh God, here we go. This is a load of bullshit, you know?
Mm.
Because I was like, remember that time that they were going to have Lois and Clark was really huge, and they said they were going to make a movie version of that,
Yeah.
and that Christopher Reeve was going to be CGI'd in. And I just remember it because it was like, so you can have a passing of the torch, and I was like, I don't believe that, I was just like, I did believe it. Because I was like, oh yeah, I can see that.
It's really funny because they tried so hard to keep it a secret, because I remember Andrew Garfield was on some American chat show, and they showed a picture of him, and he had blue screen behind him in the suit, and the chat show host said to him, that's you, you're in the film. And he said, nope, that's not me. He goes, that's photoshopped. He goes, I'm not in this film. I can categorically deny, I can tell you right now that I'm not in this film. I don't know where all these rooms are coming from. So he lied. And he's in the film.
Well,
so.
It's probably an NDA or something like that. You say it and you're, I mean, but they'd also taken photos of Tobey Maguire on the set as well at the time. So, it was like, although I got to say that Tom Holland's Spider-Man's an absolute buffoon.
You don't like him? I think he's okay. In this one, you would. I'm not going to give anything away, but in this one, you would really, really like this one. You really would.
Sure.
And he's terrific in it.
I didn't watch the last one, but I was just like, well, you're trying to ask that trailer got me because I was kind of looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole agenda and everything that they've had in it, but and the weird friend Hula Hula, I call him Hula Hula.
Oh, him, yeah. Ned. Ned, yeah.
Yeah, and he's always the one that's going, oh, he's Spider-Man, and I'm just like, you need to murder him.
Well, in the comics, he does become a villain, doesn't he? Ned. I'm not sure if Ned. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if Ned is the nationality that he is in the movie. In the comics, I'm not really sure, but I do know one thing: he's bald, isn't he? That guy who plays Ned, because every time you see an interview behind the scenes, he has no hair, so he must be wearing a wig in that film.
Yeah, so's the Wachowski sisters, but that doesn't stop them. Someone actually said, who was it? They said, "Oh, you're on a desert island and there's no escape. You have to have sex with one of the Wachowski sisters. Which one do you want?" No. And I said, "Oh, well, whichever's wig doesn't fall off first."
But they now they call them sisters now, because they were the brothers. It's weird.
It's just like, it's so blatant. Like their face, that they're wearing wigs, and they're just well,
if
transvestite anymore.
Yeah, I know, but if you now, I do feel for people who feel differently to their sex inside, and they're fighting that, the raging thing inside them. I do feel for people like that, but I reckon there are people that actually takes it
upon us.
Yeah, that too. But I reckon a lot of people are taking advantage of this situation, and and just playing the card, and and that's where it all spoils. It's like that French actor, isn't it, who pretend he got mugged by, that actor in Empire.
Was an American one, wasn't
it? Yeah. It's like that. He spoilt it now for anyone any black person that gets mugged or beaten up because of race. Now he's literally spoilt it now. So now they have to question everything now because of what this stupid idiot did. So it's like that, isn't it? It's like you got the pure people that actually, are born inside with that raging thing inside them. And now because it's exploded, people are just laughing at them now. So it's kind of bad, really. Let's face it. But
yeah, they the
vanity
whole point
project. Yeah.
It's I mean, I've had, when I was a kid, I mean, the first time I ever had an inkling that people were different was when I was 5 years old. We used to go and visit my mother's aunt, and she used to have a lodger.
Yeah.
And I remember one time clearly, the guy, he was a really nice guy. He was really old though. He'd been in the war and everything like
Yeah.
that, World War II. But he was living there. And anyway, he said to my mum, "Oh, do you want to come and help me with my hair?"
Yeah.
And he went off, walked off with my mum. And anyway, I tried to find my mum, didn't I? And when I walked in,
Mm.
he was dressed to the nines.
Cool.
In a dress. And
wow.
all I remember is screaming. I just remember screaming because it's not something that you expect.
No, yeah, when you're young like that,
he had the whole makeup on and everything like that, and it was just a full dress and everything, and like I just remember screaming, and they're like trying to calm me down, and I'm trying to get out, because I'm just like, what the are you doing, Mum? What you doing? No wonder you're doing his hair. You were trying to fix his wig up.
Well, yeah, as I said, it's been there. It's been there for a very long time, and it's good to a certain degree. It's good that people are being taught now not to be ashamed of how you feel. But I think they've taken it to a level where it's absolutely ludicrous. With non-binary and all that stuff. It's just a bit weird.
It's funny with what Wendy's saying, because I mean, Sesame Street to me was like, there are black people living on the street. Yeah. When I was growing up, this is going to sound terrible, there were no black people.
Yeah.
It was all white. We maybe had the odd Greek person or someone from like Czechoslovakia or Yugoslavia or somewhere like that. But it was predominantly white. And and Sesame Street sort of
sorry,
like...
one second. I'll be back, sorry.
Yeah, you're right. I'll continue talking anyway, so don't go there. But pretty much when Sesame Street was airing, to me, that was America. America was black and white, while Australia was white with, black history. And so, with the Aboriginal race, so, the Indigenous people of Australia, and I have great respect for the Indigenous. I am actually partially Indigenous. So it's not something that we, like the past that they speak about, that sort of thing. So, it's just one of those things. But yeah, it's, you grew up in New York. Really, Wind? I didn't know that. So, yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's just the norm. It's what you grow up in, and then all of a sudden things change. And, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. I mean, Melbourne, the state...
Sorry, I must apologise. Sorry.
You're right. Melbourne, the state that, has is next to us, has had a huge influx of African nationality, and a lot of crime started to build up there, and it was all mostly African gangs, and the news was so scared to actually say they're African. They were just saying, oh, but it was like, but they knew that they were these gangs, and they were literally just African gangs, and they'd literally transported their like what they were actually doing in Africa here, and people were so scared. It was unbelievable. So, it's a matter of growing up in a culture. I guess, it's becoming more like America now, Melbourne. But with this whole flu thing happening, the whole thing's shifted away, hasn't it?
Weird.
Before the whole flu thing, it was more about the environment. And we'd had these Greta Thunbergs, and she was telling us how awful we... Oh yeah, well, she's trying going, hi, she's singing, what is it? What was she singing? Rick Astley or something?
I don't know what's going on. I really
she was
don't.
singing Rick Astley, Yeah, never gonna give you up. It's really atrocious. She can't dance for
Well,
shit. She's no Billie Eilish, that's for sure.
over here when I was growing up, obviously my mum came over in the '60s on the boat.
Mm.
When England opened their doors to Trinidad and Venezuela and stuff like that, so they came over here, and in Wandsworth where I live, there was a lot of people of color there. Now it's reversed. Now if I go down, the junction or somewhere, it's just a lot of people with disposable cash because everywhere has been new flats being built and stuff like that. So there is a sizable amount of people of color over where I live now, but it's reduced since the beginning, if you know what I mean, since I started living here. So I mean, it's look, it's really hard, right? The whole thing, right? Look, people that mug people or create gangs and stuff like that, it's not exclusive to a different color race. Do you know what I mean? You have white
No,
gangs, you have
no,
black gangs. You know what I mean?
that's it.
So
But
yeah,
because it is a predominant, because it had become so dominant though, and to be honest, a lot of people were scared in Melbourne, and
mm.
so they just they didn't really want to acknowledge the fact that it was getting really bad, and
Delicate
the fact was
situation, isn't
that
it?
the African community were like, hey, we're not all bad, and we were
Mm.
like, yes, we understand that, but maybe you should just control your kids,
Yeah,
because
it's difficult. There's no
yeah,
answer, Matt. There's no answer. I
I
mean,
mean,
in
but
America,
the,
it's even worse in
the,
certain
the
province.
there's
You
a
know.
strange thing, a lot of people, we used to call people, the Aboriginal people, used to have like a short abbreviation of Aboriginal, and that was racist. There was other things that they used to have. We used to have this thing called coon cheese. I don't know if you've heard of this.
I haven't heard of it, but I know where you're going.
No, 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 no. But I'm
Yeah,
just saying, though.
yeah,
Recently, the one Aboriginal guy took offence to it,
yeah, yeah.
and literally the next day, um, Coon Cheese just came out and said we're changing the name of our cheese, but it
Mm,
was named after a person, like
yeah,
the guy's last name was Coon that invented it, that
yeah.
actually started it, so started the company. So I mean, those sort of things I don't see an issue with.
Mm.
Why all of a sudden you need to change it? It's something that we grew up in, we love it, but now they've changed it to Cheers, which just doesn't.
Well,
Same with
we can understand why they changed it though, because of the word, isn't
yeah,
it?
but
The
see,
word has
I
a
mean,
different
we have a
meaning.
thing here. We have an ice cream here called Golden Gay Time.
Yeah.
And so and I was going past the breakfast cereals the other day, and there was Cocoa
Yeah.
Pops, Golden Gay Time Cocoa Pops. And I was just like, okay, but it's yeah, maybe it's time for a change in certain areas, but I think
Yeah.
if it's if it was done for the right reasons to begin with, I don't see a reason why it needs to change.
Mm.
I
Well,
mean,
it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because they allow songs with the word gay in it, like old songs in the 50s and
or
stuff are allowed to
Flintstones and
be.
that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. So,
I mean,
we'll have a
it
gay
means
old
happy.
time.
It
It means
meant
happy, yeah,
happy for
sure.
them. Yeah,
But
but
as I said, it's as I said, it is. I remember Cocoa Pops. They still sell Cocoa Pops over here. They still sell
yeah.
them.
Well, the
So
weird thing is, you call them. Do you call
what's that?
the Rice Krispies?
Yes, we call it Rice Krispies.
See, we call them Rice Bubbles here. They're the exact
Oh,
same thing with
really?
Snap, Crackle, and Pop, but they're called
Yeah,
Rice Bubbles.
Rice Bubbles.
So
It's like I discovered recently through a YouTube video that the Great British Bake Off. Do you know that show on BBC One, the Great British
I've heard
Bake
about
Off?
it. Is that the one with Matt
Yes, yeah,
Lucas?
yeah, yeah. Matt Lucas and the other guy, they
I
did.
am not Matt Lucas, by the way. No.
But in England, right, it's called the Great British Bake Off, and around the world, it's called the Great British. But in America, it's called the Baking Show. And the reason why it's called the Baking Show is because
Oh,
a
I think
company
I
in
can guess.
America owns the words uh, Bake Off, so they couldn't
Oh, I
call
thought it
it
was
Bake Off in
rude.
America. Yeah. No, it wasn't anything to do with rude, but just goes to show how weird the world is. And even when they have the trophies, they have to go in and do a special effects and change the name on the trophies when they actually screen. That's how far they go to protect the word Bake Off in America.
Wendy just reminded me, when I went to the
Mm.
States, I remember going to the supermarket for the first time. I had an American friend with me, and I said, "Oh, do you guys sell Milo?" Do
I remember Milo. Yes.
yeah, we still have Milo. Milo's,
All
like,
right.
still large here, but, I asked my friend if they had any Milo, and she
Yeah.
said, "Oh, Milo's for poor people. We don't."
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Yeah, no, don't talk." And I said, what about what Wendy's just mentioned, Count Chocula and
Yeah.
that?" And she said, "Yeah, that's for poor people too. We don't."
But in Trinidad, my mum used to tell me that carnation milk was
Oh,
always carnation milk is always the milk for poor people because the rich people when they were in Trinidad they used to have like proper
I grew
milk.
up on carnation
Yeah,
milk.
so carnation milk was the thing that you use for tea, you use for some
Carnation
type
and
if you could
powdered
afford
milk.
it. Yeah, and powdered milk. Yeah. So
Mm.
I can understand where that kind of thing comes from. You know what? We're talking about old school and new school. That's the problem. People, as I was saying
We're
to
old school.
we are old school, mate. We are.
Yeah,
Do
we
you know
are,
what?
we are.
I was saying to my nieces, I was saying, this is not our world anymore. This is your world. You know what I mean? You've got to deal with all this rubbish, because my nieces, right? They're what, 15, 11, whatever.
Hot chocolate, Wendy. Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate. Yeah,
Just
yeah,
think of
yeah.
it as hot
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry,
So,
you were saying?
so in school, they teach them all this stuff, the LGB thing, and they kind of bake it into the teaching thing, right? So when I hear my nieces talking, they are talking about LGB and all that stuff, and they
Mm,
asked me the question what I thought, and I said, look, I don't really want to answer that question. All I can tell you is, right, you have to look at both sides before you can make a decision, right? So you have to look at the other side and this side, then make a decision whether what they're teaching you in school is right for you, right? And then I also said to them, this is not my world anymore, it's your world. And if you're
mm,
going to go forward with this stuff, just make sure that it's true to who you are rather than them imprinting something on you. That's
yeah,
all I can say to them. What else can I say? Because if
yeah,
I tell them exactly what I think, they're just going to ignore it. No, because when my parents tell me something, if my friends tell me something, I would believe them. If my parents tell me something, I would question it. Do you know what I mean? That's how it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
So what is the point, right? You might as well just let them do their
yeah.
thing, right?
I was watching an interview with John Lennon, and he was having a conversation with what's his name? That old Parkinson. And
Mm.
anyway, he had Yoko Ono on there, and he said that apparently when he first got with Yoko Ono, he said that the hatred. He said he got mail to say that, watch out, she'll stab you in the night and that sort of thing. And I just
So,
had this thing like, yeah, that's how the people in the 40s and 50s used to think about the Japanese.
yeah,
You know, they used to think, they'll slit your throat while you're not looking, that sort of thing, because that's the way that they grew up. That's what they had to deal with.
yeah, exactly. And we grew up with what we grew up with. Who's to say this new generation coming up with this new attitude? Who's to say that's right or wrong? But all I can say is that for me, I can't understand it, but I don't have to live in this world because what, maybe in the next 50 years time I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, I
they
think
have
we
to
all
live.
are. Don't worry.
Exactly. Well, they have to live in the world, so they
If
have to
I'm
make
90, I
sure.
don't want to be around here. I really don't. I said to my mum, I said, I don't think I'll be able to, be able to survive in a nursing home. To be honest, at
Yeah,
90, it'd be so different.
yeah,
They have such a huge turnover nursing homes as well.
they
Is
do.
that what
And
you call them,
yeah,
retirement
we
villages?
call them that. Well, we call them nursing homes, old people's homes. We used to call it when we were young. Um, but that's what I'm saying. It's we could fight for our corner,
Hmm,
what we believe and stuff like that. At the end of the day, though, it's if okay, let's put it this way: if what these people believe infiltrates our world and makes it worse for our world, yeah, that's a reason to stand up and fight. I
Yeah.
think. I think. But it's a complicated thing, isn't it? It's a complicated thing because I find it really puzzling that somebody could think in their head that they're a so and so, and then make then believe that everyone around them should apply to what they think in their head. Like, for instance, if you think you're a brick, then now what they're saying is everyone around me should call me a brick. It doesn't
See,
make any sense, does it?
it's well, to me, like, take someone like
But to them, it makes sense.
Ellen, that Ellen, not Ellen DeGenerate, the other
All
one,
right.
Ellen, the one
The
that
one that
was in
became a man.
X-Men.
Yeah, the one that became a man.
Yeah, to
Mm.
me, like, what she did to herself was
Yeah,
mutilation. It was
yeah.
just like, it was like a mental problem that, it is a well-known mental issue, actually, where people don't feel that they have their body parts belong to them at all. Some people try to cut off their legs and stuff like that, if you didn't know. So,
But the, but the thing is, though,
it-
Matt. The thing is, though, they were saying that they were interviewing this woman who's totally against what's happening now, and she said that when she was a kid, she didn't want to wear dresses, she didn't want to play with dolls. She wore
that's
jeans.
fine.
Like, yeah, yeah. Well, hold on, let me finish.
That's
She wore jeans most of the time, right? But then when she got older, she
Mm,
obviously wanted to wear dresses, and then puberty kicked in and stuff like that. And she's saying now it's really weird because when a 5-year-old kid says that she doesn't want to wear dresses, they immediately give them this talk about LGB and all that stuff, and
yeah.
and tell her, oh, well, if you don't want to wear it, we want to push you in this direction and stuff. Like, she was saying that she thinks that's wrong because when you're a kid you don't know any better. And
I
now
was
kids are saying, oh, I'm gay and stuff like. Well, you can't know if you're gay unless you have more experience in life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then come
yeah.
to that conclusion. You can't tell me you're gay when you're 5. Do you know what I mean? Or even
No, you
8.
can't.
No, you can't because you don't haven't
No,
experienced life yet to come to
no,
that
that's it.
conclusion. You know what I mean? So
And,
that's what she was
I
saying.
think even when they say, "Oh, looking back when I was, 6 or 7, I knew straight away that, I wasn't I wasn't straight," or whatever, and it's like, but that's like rose-tinted glasses. Even back then, you're just wishing that you were, I mean, kids wanna discover their sexuality, and that's fine, you
Yeah,
know?
but not
But
not at 3 or 4 or 5.
and
That's
not to be
ridiculous.
taught what to
Yeah,
be,
yeah,
But but to be fair, I mean, I can understand there should be a boys section and there should be a girls
yeah.
section. I went into the toys the other day to have a look, and I got this.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's the best thing about Ghostbusters. When they come out, they have merchandise. So, but they've mixed it in with the dolls and stuff like that. So you're like going, even though I'm a fully grown adult,
Yeah.
and I'm pushing 50, and I'm like,
Mm.
I'm looking through the toys for myself, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be looking at the dolls, sort of thing. Even now, I mean, uh, when you're a
I, per-
kid, you just
I personally think it's wrong, personally, but as I said, it's not my
yeah,
world anymore. It's their
no,
world.
it's
So,
not. Yeah,
these unisex loos, right? I find really insulting. I went in one. I was doing an audition. So where I was doing this audition for something I was shooting, they had these toilets, and I went to go for a pee, and I went in there, and there was a woman in there, and immediately I was going towards the cubicles because I don't want to be standing there taking a pee while a woman's standing there. It just feels weird to me,
yeah,
So I went in
yeah.
the
That's not.
cubicle and had a pee. Do you know what I mean? And but that's what I'm saying. But for this generation, they're going to be forced to get used to that.
I
The question
kind
is
of
whether that's a good thing. That's the question.
I remember I had a friend, and she was a lot younger than me, and she'd only just turned like 18 or whatever, 17, 18, and I think I was about 26, something like that, and we're just friends. And so anyway, she come to me and she said, "Is it true about men's toilets?" And I said,
Mm.
mean? And she said, "Do you actually watch each other?"
Well,
And
we
I said,
don't.
"Oh,"
That's the
I
thing.
said,
Yeah.
"We don't." I said, yeah, we can see, but I
Yeah.
mean, you don't go out of your way to see.
No.
Then that's when you get a punch in the face,
Yeah.
unless you're in one in the park or something like that.
But I
Um,
but Matt, I've always found that weird. Every time I go to the loo, I always find a cubicle.
yeah,
If there's no cubicles and I
yeah,
have to, and I'm dying
no,
for a
that's
pee, I
true.
have to, right? But I always found that weird that you'd stand all in a row,
Next to a person, yeah.
and looking up because you don't want to look down.
Well,
It's really weird.
and that's it. What are you facing too? Because
You've
you're not
just stared at
really.
the wall.
Yeah, I've there's also another phobia actually where you can't actually, and a lot of people have got this, where
Mm.
you can't actually go to the toilet while other people are watching.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
have to go
yeah,
into a cubicle,
yeah.
But a lot of people have got that, and they just think it's a phobia. But I'm like, well, I think a lot of people have got that. I've got it.
I
I don't
remember
want people looking.
I remember who's the guy that was in the Carry On films?
Uh,
The what's his name? The skinny. Oh
Kenneth
God.
Williams.
Kenneth Williams was saying that he can't go to the loo if someone has sat on the seat. If he feels the seat is warm, he can't do anything because it will stop him from doing his business. The seat has to be cold. He was saying, but he
Yeah,
had a phobia. He had a phobia on that. He couldn't. He said if he was dying for a pee or dying for a number two, and he went into a cubicle and he sat on the seat, and somebody just come out, he couldn't do it because the seat was warm and he couldn't do it. And
yeah.
you know what I mean. So there's loads
Well,
of
it is a bit weird.
weird
It is a
things.
bit
Yeah, it
weird
is.
when you
Yeah,
go on.
it's yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, someone was just here.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also another thing I really find weird about the design of loos as well, as we're on the subject, of course, is when they cut the doors off at the bottom, so you can see people's
Oh,
legs.
you
It's
know
just
what? I
weird.
was in a public toilet once where the
Yeah,
doors were actually made to look like cowboy.
yeah,
Used to go to a cowboy bar, and they're
yeah.
like that. Well, these were really, really short, bloody doors. And anyway, I was doing my business in the toilet one day, and this went, "All right, mate."
Yes, I'm saying it's weird. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
sure. And then
weird.
he's tried to start a conversation with me in the cubicle next door, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, all right, bye. I'm like, ugh.
It's just weird, and I hate the system because like sometimes you go in there and they have these toilet rolls or paper that you pull out of a little hole, and
Oh,
it's
the
never
toilet roll.
enough, and you
It's like
keep
one
pulling it
little
out.
sheet.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm saying you keep pulling it out just to get more. It's ridiculous. It's like who designed this thing? It's just incredibly bad. It's madness, isn't it? It's
Oh,
so
it's like
mad.
I was because of these whole Boxing Day sales and that too. You guys have Boxing Day sales.
Hmm.
We I went to Amazon, and they had it was a portable bidet.
All right. Okay.
And it looked like a toothbrush.
Oh no. Oh no. It's not good.
Yeah, no, and I'm like, really, really, is that what you're going to?
The first time I saw one of them, I didn't know what it was. I was like, "There's another toilet in. They've put another toilet in there without a seat." I remember it was in a hotel. I went to a hotel and I saw and I was like, "What is this?" And then somebody told me, "Yeah, it's like you push the water up, it goes up your bum, and you clean your bum. Basically, that's what it is."
It's weird seeing in people's houses
Yeah, yeah. You don't
as
normally
well
have
because
one
they've
in the
got them.
house.
Well, I've seen them in the house. That was the first
Yeah,
time ever I saw it, and I'm like, what the hell is that, mum? And they're like, well, that's what you use to wipe your bum.
yeah,
And I was like, oh. And then they did it in Crocodile Dundee, and it
yeah.
just
They
cracked me
did.
up.
Yeah, they
And
did.
he was there trying to wash his boots in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's weird because I've never seen. I think I've only seen one. As said, I was in a hotel once, and they had one in the hotel, and it was really another thing that got really for me weird. I remember once I was in a hotel, and I went into the bathroom, and they had the shower, and there was nothing around the shower. So in other words, they told me it was called a wet room. So the whole room is a shower, right?
Yeah,
And then when
yeah,
you have the shower, the water goes down a drain. So they've designed it so that the
everywhere.
water
Yeah,
could only go one place down the drain.
yes.
But when you walk in there, originally you go, they forgot to make the glass around the shower,
Yeah.
but it's not the
It
whole
goes
room's
all
a
over the
shower.
toilet. It goes all over the sink. All the water goes everywhere. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
have seen those.
It's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah,
Well, they're really good for cleaning up bodies.
yeah. Yeah.
There's less nooks and crannies for any blood spatter to get into.
Yeah, it's
But
called a wet room. Like, what's it called a wet room? And I kind of understood it once I, yeah, it's really weird.
well, as long as it's not a red room, then you're fine.
Have they not released the Matrix film down there then?
Yes, just
All
now,
right.
and it's bombed. It's bombed
It's
here as
not very
well.
good. It's not very good at all.
No, well, I found it weird that they actually filmed it not in Sydney, because the first 3 films were
Yeah.
filmed in Sydney.
Yeah.
And because of this whole thing with the flu, I was amazed they didn't do it back in Sydney, because for a while there, they did the new Thor film and that, which I have no interest in whatsoever.
Mm.
And they've done all the filming for that, and what's his name's just bought some land down here. Chris Hemsworth, he's just bought some
Oh
property
wow.
down here. Yeah, yeah. So it's weird because we've had Bill Murray down here as well, and it's like really strange to have like huge celebrities. I reckon Bill Murray just gets a world globe and just
Yeah,
spins it and it's
he
like
does.
that.
He does. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he does. He'll go anywhere. He's he's a kind of a bit of a weird person, but a good weird person, if you know what I mean.
Well,
He'd travel anywhere. That guy.
I don't want any spoilers, but
Mm.
was he in Afterlife long?
Y-
Or was it just
Uh,
a cameo like we said it was on Dan's channel?
it's a cameo, but it's a good cameo.
Okay.
So yeah, so
I think I've
it's
seen
not
that image,
yeah.
but like because they've already spoiled it for me anyway. But
Yeah.
I just yeah. I mean I don't know why they leave movies so late to come here, because it's like it's already getting released on Blu-ray and that soon, isn't it, over there?
I don't know, but I can't understand why you guys get films late. It's a bit weird.
Well, sometimes we do get them early, like Harry Potter and that. Sometimes we got them early, and people were going up the wall, because some people actually fly to other locations so that they can actually see the film early.
All right.
I think they did that with Star Wars. A lot of people were flying to America to watch the Phantom Menace.
All right.
No other one,
Mm.
to actually, see it before anyone else. But it's the same with DVDs and all that sort of thing. We don't get them for a long, long time, and it hasn't been that way for a while. But all of a sudden, in the last 3 months or so, everything's taken a while to come here,
Yeah.
except for Marvel movies. Marvel movies open pretty much the same time as worldwide.
Yeah.
There
Well,
was
they've
one
got
yeah.
so they've got a good grip on things, haven't they? Marvel. They kind of rule Hollywood now.
Yeah, I think Sony's a bit funny, especially Sony when it comes to releasing movies.
Mm.
I said, what, Afterlife, they don't own. Same with James Bond. James Bond only just opened here, like in the last couple of weeks. The latest film, and I think that's already out on Blu-ray. And that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
images of people actually getting it.
It's not. There's no point in getting that film. That film is a
No.
disgrace to Bond films. Full stop. I really hated that film. I would never watch that film ever again. It's just so bad. It's just
Oh,
ridiculously
come on.
bad.
You need to do a commentary on it.
It is. The script's terrible. The whole concept of the thing is terrible, and you know what
It's
they
just a
did at
matter
the
of
end. So
taste,
it's just
though, Ian. It's just a
it's
matter of taste.
well, you could say that, but
I mean,
what?
our friend Keith thinks it's the best. It's a really good Bond, doesn't he? He thinks it's a
Well,
really good Bond, a good
well,
finish.
his logic is flawed because I tell you. No, but no, I'm serious. His logic is flawed because the script doesn't work. So how can you say, look, if you're a film connoisseur, right? If you just want to go to cinema and just have fun and just enjoy the action, that's fine. People will say things are good even though they don't understand the concept of what a film should be, right? So, like parents, they'll go and see something that doesn't make any sense, but they had some enjoyment in it. They would say it's a good film. But people that know film, you know, you can't. No one can honestly, truly tell me that that script works. It does not work at all, logically,
Oh,
right?
I think there's a lot of that because I mean that one that they had this year, well, last year now here,
Mm.
the Tomorrow War.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
they just treated their audience like they were absolute idiots.
yeah,
And I'm like, because I normally I leave my brain at the door, but when you're actually watching it and the logic of it, they have built up their own logic as
mm.
to why certain things a certain way and all this, and yet they still break it. It's like,
But hold on. But there's a huge difference between that and the new Bond film. The new Bond film was they did something really horrible, right, in the new Bond film. Okay,
they killed
it's
him off,
just
didn't they?
yeah, and but it is also full of oh shoot, I'll be back in a minute. My mum's calling me. Would you believe my
No
mum's
worries.
calling me? One second, I'll be back in a minute. All
Yeah,
right.
go for it. So, yes, Afterlife and what's the other one? Matrix has only just opened up here. I think Afterlife is supposed to open today on the 1st of January 2022, which it is today. Yes, indeed. And I think everybody's left. Who's watching? Can anyone say something in the chat? That'd be great. And I could have something to talk about. But I am planning a couple of things on. I want to talk about Doctor Who. Um, the I believe the Eve of the Daleks is being shown here soon. Oh, Wendy, you've got no plans to see Afterlife. Well, um, why not? I look. I mean, I was really up for it until I found out that it had children involved. I am not. I mean, I'm not. I know you like the Goonies and that, but I just don't. I've never been heavily into children actors. Like, I just don't find them very convincing. So the only character that I ever found convincing was Short Round from Temple of Doom. That was the only one that I ever enjoyed watching. Even when I was a kid watching kid movies, the kids were they were terrible actors. I watched a movie from Japan. It was made 15 years ago, and even the Japanese acting kids were wooden. So it's a worldwide thing. It's just not yeah it's it's kind of one of those films where if I was going to watch any new GB film, it would have to be Afterlife as Aykroyd. Well, yeah, he was involved. He was involved in that other one, which some people don't like to name. It's he was a producer on that, and I think a lot of the times he was nixed on. He's actually even said it publicly. They nixed some of the things that he wanted to do, but it's money, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, he went where the money was, or they thought that the money was, and he pretty much ruined it. And now he's backtracking and going, "Oh, this is what the fans wanted all along," which was true. We really just, I look, I was really excited to see a movie about women Ghostbusters. I was. I'll admit it. I was so excited to see the new trailer. I knew it had them. I'd seen the clip, not the clips, but I'd seen photos of them in their suits, and I was like, okay. But that trailer, oh my god! I'm like everybody else. That trailer was the worst thing in the world. And having them in the movie even hurt. It just hurt having them in the movie. They shouldn't have even been there. The originals. So watching through the original Dark. Oh, okay. Can you get that on Blu-ray? Can you? Is that they have the young female actress in that? is that the one from Willy Wonka? Because I believe she was in that movie as well. In that TV series. I didn't. Yeah, he was a producer on that other one. He was.
What's that?
Dan Aykroyd was a producer on 2016.
Yeah, he was. He was, but he had to say he liked it, didn't he? Because he was a producer, wasn't he? So.
And he was in it.
Yeah, he was in it. He was only in it for a little bit. Also, the fact that they're saying now that you can get a download with the new Ghostbusters Blu-ray that's coming out. So of the 2016 version, but it's not being included in the pack, obviously, because
have they announced that with you guys over there?
Yeah.
The same package. See, because it hasn't even been released, it hasn't even come out here yet. They're not saying anything.
All right.
So they probably want people to spend their money on it first. But to be honest, I'm not even interested in it anymore because I've already been desensitized from what's in it, you know. But then again, I kind of, what did you think of it?
I liked it, but as I said before, sorry, I'm eating my lunch because I couldn't heat up my lunch.
Over
there. As I said before, it should have been the Ghostbusters. It shouldn't have been these kids. Even though I enjoyed it, I thought that they should have had the old Ghostbusters doing the adventure, when the same adventure the kids were doing, and that would have been so much better. But you know, who can understand the logic of people?
I knew it'd be a cameo. Like I said, you know, it is a spin-off. That's what it is.
And
I guess it's kind of like it's very reflective of us now. I mean, you and I, Wendy, everybody, we're all the old guard now, and these are the new lot, and they're looking at your movies, Ian, and they're looking at other things, and they're like going, oh well, you know, the CGI is not very good in that, or you know, oh those that place exploding doesn't look very realistic, you know, and that sort of thing. They're looking at it through different eyes.
But Spielberg said something, even though he made a terrible film called West Side Story. He's my favorite director of all time. But he said something. He said, "You can have all the special effects in the world, you can have all the cameras, but if you can't tell a good story, then you're doomed." And this is the thing, you know. You have all these films like Red Notice, the film that's on Netflix with The Rock and
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's a film that's apparently had huge views on Netflix. It's exclusive to Netflix. It has The Rock in it. It has Gal Gadot,
DiCaprio in it too.
Yeah. So basically, this film, Red Notice, is bland. It's incredibly bland, and the story is absolute trash. But
I believe the rabbi loved it.
Well, that's the rabbi. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was very flat, and you can tell what was going to happen, and you know, and stuff like that. It was okay. It was enjoyable, but there was nothing original about it at all. So, what Spielberg's saying is that there are hundreds of films like that now, but to tell a good story, you know, is an art form to tell a good story these days, isn't it? So,
well, I mean, what would you say was his last great film, Spielberg?
Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan.
The last one. His very last one before he went all.
Oh, that was terrible. The one with the computer game thing where everybody. What's it called? Ready, something.
Oh, I love that movie.
Did you? I thought it was all right.
I've only seen it once. The only thing I didn't like was Simon Pegg, because I was like, no, I don't. He can't act for quid, Simon. He just can't.
But you know, it's okay. That's what I'm saying. For Spielberg, for a film from Spielberg, you expect it to be better than just okay. You know, and that's the thing. Another thing. I think
he was a bit restricted.
Yeah,
it wasn't really. It was based on the book, but it's sort of like, you know, he went off on his own track because Warner Brothers was producing it, so you know he had to go by. You know, I mean. Wasn't the Goonies Warner Brothers?
I don't know.
I think Goonies was Warner Brothers. So, you know, and I know there was a big thing in the book about Goonies. And I was like, and they decided to go with The Shining, which is, it's terrible. I know you like it. I don't.
It's all right. The thing is, though, with movies have to connect to you as a viewer.
Mm,
And Ready Steady One, it was plastered with visual effects that you couldn't make head or tail of. I remember there was this scene in the film where it was a car chase, and
yeah.
three times
Oh,
within
they're in a
that car,
DeLorean though.
yeah, but three times within that car chase, I thought they died. I thought, oh no, it's flipped over. Oh no, that's not them. It's them. That's them there. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of the CGI. I always relate to Empire Strikes Back, right? If you see the asteroid field sequence in Empire Strikes, you can see what's happening. You can see the Millennium Falcon
Um,
dodging the
you know what? Now you're
asteroids and
saying that, I
stuff.
can hear the music and everything.
But that's what I'm saying. The difference between visual effects in those days, you can actually see what's going on. When they have these CGI now, it's so fast, you can't see what you get
Mm,
confused over. I mean, the prime example of that has got to be Transformers when they were fighting, those robots were fighting. You couldn't tell what was going
no,
on. You can tell
no.
whether the bad guy was getting trashed or the good guys getting trashed. It was just so stupid.
Yeah,
And I don't think
yeah.
they've learnt their lesson.
It's funny because I was watching this actual movie that I was watching from Japan. It was done by the director of One Missed Call, if you've seen that film.
Oh yes, I have. Yep.
And
Mhm.
he's quite well known now. But it's called the Great Yokai War, and the CGI was dreadful. It was really, really bad. But it
Yeah.
was 2004, 2005, so they were still, a little bit thing, but it looked very like student
Yeah.
student animation type thing. And so anyway, it wasn't very polished. And I was watching it and I was just like, um they had like transformer type characters in it, and like they were supposed to be junk bots sort of thing, but I couldn't tell what what they looked like because they were just like big blobs of mess, you
Yeah.
know. And that was exactly even Transformers, I think a couple of years later, it was still blobs of mess because you just didn't know what was going on, because the original had them such defining, they were all defined
Yeah.
by a square and by squares and triangles and all that sort of thing. So, but these were just like jumbled mess,
You
squiggles.
have to go. You have to go back, right? You have to go back to the time when they were shooting on film and when we were doing visual effects or stunts in film. Now, Jackie Chan had this thing where if two people are going to fight, one person's going to be wearing white and the other person's going to be wearing black. Right? Yeah, that's what
Mm.
he used to do, so that the audience can tell who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. Right? Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great movie, Drunken Master. But I'm
I
just
need to watch
saying,
this. I've only just got it, so
it's good. It's good. It's fun. But
I
that's what I'm
bought it for
saying.
myself for Christmas.
The whole point that Jackie Chan was wanted to clarify with the audience when they're watching it, so they wouldn't get confused over what was going on. And it's the same
Mm.
thing with visual effects in the old days with Ray Harryhausen effects and stuff like that. They
Oh,
always made
I
sure
love
that you
Harryhausen.
knew who the villain was or you knew who the monster was. But these days,
Clash of the Titans was his best like
yeah,
work as far as I'm concerned
but
because you
these
knew who
days,
the villain was.
yeah, but with these days, CGI is so fast. They make it happen so fast that you can't see. Look at the beauty of the way Chris Reeves used to fly as Superman. There's one scene
Mm,
in the Superman movie where he flips in the sky and he turns and he flies
yeah.
towards the screen. And in the new Superman, Man of Steel, he's flying so fast, you
Uh,
might as well just have a blip on the screen because you just
well,
can't see it.
wasn't
You can't
wasn't his cape
appreciate it.
actually CGI?
Yes, it was.
Well, there you go. See, that's the thing because they just pretty much just covered him in cape.
I don't.
Even
I don't like what's his name, Zach's
no
films. I think
Cavill.
yeah, I loved Watchmen because Watchmen needed those visual effects for it to happen, for it to look as close to the comics. But then he kept making films that was dominated by CGI, and the more CGI you have in the film, the more disconnected you are to the film because
See,
in your mind, subconsciously, you know it's not real.
I've
That's the
never been a
thing.
fan of like. To me, Superman doesn't have dark films,
No, exactly. You're right.
and uh, that was the reason why Batman. I felt Batman worked because it was like it's literally night and day. And but
Absolutely.
but then I liked Batman Begins. I love Batman Begins. I could watch
Mm,
that again anytime. But I
mm.
can't stand the Dark Knight because then it just goes even to the even darker side of you know
Yeah.
superheroes. I'm over it. I want to be entertained, and that's why I really want to see Spider-Man. I really do now
It's
that I'm
good.
here.
It's good. It's good. I'll tell you another. The only DC film I really did enjoy, and it seems
Suicide.
far separated from DC, was Shazam.
Oh, you
What was it
like
called?
that one?
Yeah, I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very, very funny and very silly. And
Don't ask me why I've got these on hand.
I liked it. I thought it was very funny and very silly and very entertaining. I thought, just the whole idea that a kid is this superhero with amazing powers that he didn't know what to do with them, and he's like trying to make money out of his powers. I thought that was just very, very funny and
Yeah,
very, very
I
amusing.
I
I
I
thought,
I saw a clip recently of there's a show called Young Justice, and I saw a clip recently of like the Justice League, and they're having a meeting on who the new members are going to be,
yeah,
and they're saying, oh, they're just kids, and so like Shazam's actually part of the Justice League, and he's
yeah,
like, well, uh, Wonder Woman has a crack at him because he's just a kid.
yeah.
And so Batman, and they goes, well, we didn't know. You didn't tell us that you were a kid. And Batman goes, well, I knew. And she's going, yes, but you also have Robin, who, he's like, he needed to seek vengeance, that sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, but, you just really shouldn't have kids in.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're right, aren't they? Because and also right, they want to add too much realism to DC stuff, in my opinion, and it's okay, but you've still got to have one foot in the fantasy element of superhero films, ain't you? Ray
Yes,
Harryhausen, yeah, he's king. He really
he is
is.
king. He was just some of his work. I mean, I'm only just slowly collecting a lot of his earlier stuff that I haven't seen. Like It Came From Beneath the Sea, which is mostly tentacles.
Yeah. What's that
And
UFO one? The one we did with the UFOs, the black and
no,
white.
he didn't do that. Are
He
you
didn't?
thinking of War of the Worlds?
No, there's another one. He
Oh,
did.
Earth versus the Flying
That's the
Saucers,
one. That's the one.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and that's in 3D, I think, as well.
How
And
is
it was
it?
actually and it's actually not bad in 3D
It's a
because
good film.
when they were doing them in 3D back then, they were actually aiming to
Yeah.
use the 3D technology to get people out of the seats in the audience, that sort of
Yep.
thing. I showed my nephews when they first got their 3D television, and they were watching 3D movies like nothing's business, and I was like, well, I think you really need to see a classic 3D film. And they're like, no, it's black and white, And I'm like, no, I think you need to see it. And I got them The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh yeah.
And one of the first scenes in it is someone finding a fossil of a hand coming out of a rock. And I had my nephew next to me, and he had the glasses. And like, as soon as they did that scene with the hand coming out of the rock, he just literally went, "Whoa!" He
Well,
was
that's the
like,
whole point.
and I said, "That's a real 3D
Yeah,
movie."
that's the point.
They built them to be, like just, like actual the technology for them to,
Yeah.
actually use, so that it actually gave you a thought. Yeah, I thought that would probably be the best. That's the only one I've really come across that actually uses the technology to its best. I haven't
Well, in
seen
what
that's got Clint Eastwood in it, by the way.
in
Sequel.
what is it? Dial M for Murder. That was the Hitchcock film that Hitchcock made. It was
Yes.
3D, and there's a
Yes.
scene in it where the guy is trying to strangle this woman on the table, and she puts her hand out, and it goes towards the screen, and it's obvious
Yeah.
they did that scene so that the audience could go back, obviously, because in those days 3D was about things coming towards the screen,
Yeah.
so you could react to it. And
There's
I remember, watching a couple of horror films that was made for 3D.
House
That
of
like
Wax.
someone would get stuck in the eye with an arrow, and the arrow would come straight out of the head towards the screen, so
Oh,
everybody just
yeah.
go back and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
But today, 3D is just about separating the
just a
person
gimmick.
in it from the background, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
it, you
yeah.
know. And
I
that's
mean,
not a real 3D film.
I enjoyed watching the Marvel movies in 3D, and I was very disappointed when they stopped making those. And I was like, and they actually stopped releasing them here, and I ended up getting them from the UK because like Endgame and all that had come out in 3D, and I hadn't been able to see it. But yeah, no, I always have a thing for 3D movies. But there was one movie that I could not stand in 3D,
What was
and
that?
that was Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, that made my eyes bleed. The
Yes,
animation was
the
so
animation.
yeah,
It was so
yeah,
static. It was like they were missing so many frames in that, and it was a
yeah,
choice. The
yeah.
weird thing is that was a choice, and it didn't work for me. And I
Doesn't work
was
for me
like,
either.
when you try to watch it in 3D, it's the worst thing in the world to try and watch. You know,
It is.
it's probably it's the worst one I've ever seen. I think, besides
One of the best.
Transformers.
One of the best 3D films I've saw, and the film isn't very good, is Avatar. Avatar in
Oh,
3D was amazing.
yes. Well, that was the thing, though, Ian. They were
Mm,
using the technology to
mm,
show it off, to
yep,
say, "Hey, look, this is the new technology in 3D," you
yep.
know. And he used 3D cameras, didn't he? He
He did
used the new
indeed.
3D cameras, and I mean, whatever you say about him, James Cameron, I mean, some of his movies suck. I mean, I've got I'll show you this one. Actually, I don't know if you've seen. I haven't actually watched it yet. I might watch it tonight after we finish here.
What's that one?
Piranha
Oh,
2.
Piranha 2. James Cameron
Spawning.
film, isn't it? James
Yeah,
Cameron directed that
yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
James Cameron did this one. So
yeah.
I
The thing
thought,
is,
oh
though,
yeah,
they were doing a documentary on piranhas, and they say they don't act like that. They don't strip it. They can't strip a piece of meat within a couple of minutes. They don't do that apparently. So there you
well,
go.
no, I doubt that very much. If you put a hand in it, I reckon they all just wouldn't go.
But
Did you ever
James.
see the one that they did, the 3D one that they did with they just went mad with the boobies on that?
Oh, that was which one was that? That had Kelly Brook in it, didn't it? What was
And
that film called?
it
Yeah,
had
Kelly Brook was in it. She got killed.
it had the guy from Jaws in it too.
Which one?
Oh, well, uh
Roy
oh,
Schneider? Nah, not Roy
no,
Schneider.
other one. The other one.
Dreyfus? Yeah,
Yes.
Dreyfus. Yeah,
He was
that
in
was the
it.
one. Yeah, that was the one with Kelly Brook. Kelly Brook
Yeah.
got killed. Yeah, yeah, and it was all about boobies. It was all about boobies because every girl
Yeah, it
had
was. And they
impressive
were all fake.
boobies. Yeah, yeah,
And then they made a second one and it had David Hasselhoff in it. Was that the
yeah,
one, David?
yeah. No, it was. I mean, the thing is that they made it with the whole film was made as tongue in cheek, wasn't it? It was like it
Yeah.
didn't take itself seriously,
And
which
it was
was
a hit.
quite nice. It was a
It
hit.
was
The
a
first
hit.
one was a hit. Yeah, the first one was
Yeah.
a huge hit. I can't remember what was it called.
It was Piranha 3 Double D.
Oh, of course. How stupid of me. How silly of me. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And as I said, I used to like Kelly Brook. I thought Kelly Brook was gorgeous, but now she's put on a lot of weight, hasn't she? And she's used that to her advantage as a bigger, woman model now. So she's
Is
kind
she
of
from the UK?
yeah, she's English.
Oh, okay. There's
She used
one
to
that I'm
be
thinking of. There's one girl that I'm thinking of, but I don't think it's her. and like that Alex Bellend, whatever his name is, he's always getting on her case because she's too fat, and it's saying like they're always bringing out news items that she's lost a couple of pounds.
well Kelly Brook she got famous for being on some breakfast show in England. I can't remember which big breakfast I think it was called, and she was really useless at presenting.
Oh, she's big.
Yeah, she is, but if you go back and see her, when she was in her prime,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
stunning.
That's what I'm looking
absolutely
at now.
stunning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking at the boobage. I'm not looking at any
You silly boy.
naughty boy.
Naughty boy. It's not
But
good.
oh yeah, you're right. She has put it on.
Yeah, but she's used that to advantage. She still models as a size, was it a plus size model?
Is she
She's,
on with Idris Elba? Is she?
no, she used to be the girlfriend of Jason Statham a long time ago.
Oh, I might be in with a chance there.
Well, I've met her once a long time ago. She seems to be she's nice. Well, she probably still is a nice girl, but it's really hard for women when they're that good looking, and then as they get older, it's hard to maintain that. But obviously the pressure is on for her, and she's just like said, "Well, no, I'm just going to be the size that I am now,"
That's
and
why I
and
think I don't like modern women my own age, because like a lot of them use filters.
they
A lot of
do.
them use Snapchat filters and
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
yeah.
And I mean, even on Twitter and all that, you're just watching it all the time. It's like TikTok and all that, where they're just not real people. Even their eyes are fake. They actually use like fake eyes and stuff like that. And it's that sort of stuff that I'm like, nah.
Well, it's a society, isn't it? Society, it says that if you're a woman, if you're not good looking, then you are a lesser person. I mean, it's not literally said that, but it's kind of implied that, hasn't it? Because let's
Well,
face it, right? Good looking people, they have an advantage in the world. How many times have you had a friend that's really good looking and you've forgiven them for loads of different things because they're
yeah,
good looking? Do you know what I mean? And they got
yeah,
an advantage in the world. Just can't help
yeah,
forgiving them because they're so good looking.
yeah.
So it's lucky. It's like obviously, someone like me, uh, I'm no Brad Pitt. So I have to struggle in the
Oh,
world.
neither am I.
So
I'm
it's.
Bruce Willis's poorest cousin.
Yeah, I don't know. It just they're lucky.
Uh,
They're lucky if they're
yeah.
good looking. Put it that way.
I felt sorry for Bruce Willis the other day because that famous scene where he's down in the he's in the vent, air
Yeah,
vent,
yeah.
and he's got the lighter and that. He was doing a battery ad, and it had Die Hard on the battery,
Wait a
and he's
moment.
there with the
Is this
lighter, and
it's an
I'm like,
Australian advert?
no, it wasn't an Australian advert. I didn't even want to look at the advert because they just showed this video clip of him, like not a video clip, it was just like a photo from the scene, and he
All
was in
right.
the air vent and he's going past and there's this battery in the middle of the air vent. There's Die Hard written on it, and I was like, dude, you've obviously got to pay the alimony and that,
Well,
but
of course,
sell
of
yourself
course.
short.
Didn't he used to go out with Demi Moore? They had
He
kids
used to be
together, didn't
married to
they?
more
Yeah,
with
Demi
numerous
Moore. Yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah.
They
And
were the big hot Hollywood couple.
then he teamed up with this really young girl, didn't he? Really incredibly
Well,
young.
wouldn't you?
But she was a looker though when she was young. Demi Moore was
Oh
just
god, yes. She was in
gorgeous.
a show called The Master. I don't know if
Mm.
you've ever seen that
Is
movie.
that the one, Lee Van Cleef?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
he,
Yeah.
he, he was this elderly gentleman, and then all of a sudden he ended up getting he put on a little black ninja suit and suddenly
Yeah,
climbing up
yeah.
walls and everything, and you're like, that's not the same person.
Yeah, it was really funny because when you see him fight, they get a stuntman with like a false bald wig on his head, and you could see the joint, and he'd be
Yeah.
flipping and stuff. It's like that's not him. That's a stunt guy.
I used to love The Master. I was like,
Yeah.
I remember when everybody Mystery Science Theater actually had a
I
couple
did.
of shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Taking the piss out of it, and I was like, "Oh man, it's like I don't have a go." That's the thing with Mystery Science Theater. I really liked it, but some movies, I mean, they had made fun of Captain Scarlet and
Yeah.
some of them, and I'm like, yeah, no. And I know there was another movie that they made fun of too, Danger Diabolic. That was
Never
another
heard that
one.
one.
Oh, you've never seen that?
No.
I've just ordered this other one with George Papard in it.
George
And it's
Papard.
Yeah, George Papard.
Wow.
And he's in 1968, and I think it's an Italian film, but it's got Orson Welles in it, and it's called House of Cards.
Never heard of it.
Actually, you should have a look at it, Ian.
Really?
Some of the shots, like the opening shot, and that I saw it on YouTube, and that's what actually sold me was the trailer and the opening shot, because I was like, oh, that sounds really. I've never heard of it before, but and I was like, oh, actually, that looks pretty interesting.
Mm.
So yeah, I think he's stuck in a house or something, and like people go missing and people get murdered, and he ends up at the Colosseum in Italy. I think it is.
Ah,
That's what Colosseum is, isn't it?
I know. I think it's in Rome.
Oh,
I think
oh,
it's
there
in
you are.
Rome. It's
I'm
it is in
otherworldly.
Italy, though. It's in Rome, but it is in Italy. Do you remember? Do you remember that show, Matt Houston?
Is that the one? Was that the one with
Lee
Oh, what's his name?
Horsley. Lee Horsley.
Lee Horsley.
He's like this big Texan fella, and he had the girl
Oh,
from
I don't know.
Buck Rogers, who played Princess Adala. That was his partner.
What,
Do you remember?
Silver
It was like
Spoons?
a Yeah, it was called Matt Houston. He was a private detective. He was in Texas, and he's a cowboy, and he does private detecting. But the girl that played only reason to watch it is the girl that played Princess Adala was in it, and she looked gorgeous in that. I remember that. Matt Houston. No, you don't remember that?
No,
And
well, I probably, I've seen so many. Yes, I knew that was the bloke you were talking about. But
oh,
you know what?
also,
I always get him mixed up with oh, what was the name of the guy that played because he used to drive around in a Corvette, wasn't it?
yes,
Like
yes,
a Magnum type thing.
in the beginning credits, he used
Yeah.
to wear a white
And
suit.
yeah. And I do remember that. It was like a
But do you
long
know
time
what?
ago.
Right?
But
Do you know
yeah.
what? Those shows did crossovers before crossovers was a thing. I went to visit Dan. Me and Keith went to visit Dan in Birmingham. We drove down to Birmingham to visit Dan,
Yeah.
physically see Dan.
Yeah.
And I was in the hotel room, and I turned on the TV in the morning, and they had Diagnosed Murder with what's his name? Dick Van Dyke. So I don't
Yep.
know if you know that show. He plays a
Yep.
doctor that's like a
Used to love that
detective.
show.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
And they had Matlock in it.
Yep.
So it was a crossover between. So both of them were in it, Matlock and that Dick
It was
Van
actually
Dyke.
a spin-off. Diagnosis Murder was a spin-off of
Oh,
Matlock.
from Matlock, was it?
Yeah, you know how they used to have like um they used to put like even in Star Trek and that sort of thing, they used to try another pilot in another TV show sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing. That was one of those type of deals. But they're saying that yeah, Diagnosis Murder was a spin-off of Matlock.
I
But
did not know that.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, what else was there?
Scott Baio
There was
was in it,
one
wasn't he?
from yeah, there was one from Married with Children.
That a spin-off of
With
Married with Children?
there was a spin-off. They
Was it?
tried. It was a
Oh,
pilot. They
right.
did a pilot in the middle of Married with Children, and it had the guy from Friends in it, Matt.
Oh yes, of course, because he was the boyfriend to the daughter,
Yeah,
Matt LeBlanc,
and then it
in the
suddenly
show.
followed him all the way
Yeah,
back to his
yeah,
flat with his father and all that, and the whole
yes,
show was about him and his father.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how they used to do backdoor pilots, they call them.
Ah, right. I did
And
not know that.
yeah, oh yeah, there was a couple of other famous ones too.
I don't. You probably don't remember. There used to be a show called Richie Broccolin, and he was like a teen private detective in America, and he ended up in Rockford Files. So they did a crossover between Jim Rockford and him, which was quite interesting. They did a lot of crossovers in the 70s, but obviously they've been forgotten.
Well, I mean, Murder She Wrote and Magnum got together.
That's right, absolutely, and I love that episode. I love
Oh,
it. I
but
think
you
it's
know
so
what?
funny.
It's two parts.
I know.
And with Magnum, if you actually
Yeah,
watch the Magnum episode, they
yeah,
actually cut it short because
mm,
they went into syndication and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
people can watch it at the same time as Murder She Wrote or whatever. So they
yeah.
just cut it short and they'd put a really terrible ending at the end of it,
They
and it
did.
was so awful. And me and my mum watched it because we were fans of both, and we were like, because they put the Magnum episode on the Murder She Wrote DVDs.
Yeah, but
It
you
had
know what?
Magnum in
Right.
it.
What I
Yeah.
thought was interesting, what made me laugh was that Magnum was always being upstaged by Jessica. That made me laugh because Magnum, sometimes you have serious episodes of Magnum, but
Yeah.
majority of it was quite amusing with him and Higgins
Yeah.
and all the
There
stuff
was
that
one
happens and stuff.
funny you should mention Magnum. I saw this meme the other day with him, like, he's around a church, and there's a nun escaping out on a ladder in a window,
Mm.
and he looks at the nun, and the nun sort of gives a like
It's a
a
sign of the
holy thing,
cross. Yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
keeps walking off behind her, and then he goes, "Hang on a minute, nuns don't work on Sundays." And he turns around, and they both have guns.
No,
And I'm
it's
like,
one of the reasons why I like Magnum was because originally when it started off, he was this hunky, private detective and drove in a red car and stuff like that. But as it went on, it really showed that even though he had a good look and he was kind of square jawed, he was useless at loads of things. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was a James Bond character. He didn't own the red car. That he just borrowed it from Higgins all the time. And he was useless at chatting up women, wasn't he?
he reminds me.
He was rubbish.
He
But he
reminds
was
me
good.
so much of Jason King, actually,
A bit,
because
yeah.
the character of Jason, was the Peter Weingard one, wasn't it?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's like he was absolutely useless at fighting. Like he'd
Yeah, he
always,
was.
the first thing, as soon as he put his fists up or whatever, he'd get punched in and he'd fall unconscious. And then the next minute he's woken up and he's like a prisoner or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
And I love characters like that because it actually shows that they have, they're fallible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when when it was real danger, obviously they will, he
I
would
mean, when
step up to the mark.
they put Magnum PI in the backs, what was it, in the boot of a car,
Mm,
and then shot him to
mm.
end Magnum, and then like that was the final episode of the series, and there wasn't going to be any more, and then there was a huge up.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and they brought him back. Yeah,
and they brought him back, and it was a dream sequence.
but what made me laugh is
What
how it ended was he was in heaven and he was walking away, and you heard Higgins going, "Where are you going, Magnum? Come back, come back." And that's how it ended. I was like, "What the hell?"
Really?
Yeah. So and then they brought him back, obviously. Yeah.
I need to see that. That's funny.
Yeah. So that's how it ended. I used to love Magnum. I used to think Magnum was really fun, and I like the theme is amazing.
My
The
mum,
opening,
there was a guy
who
used to he used to fly a helicopter, and he used to put that theme on all the time, and put it in a tape and have it on.
It is. It's a really good show.
So
I
every
thought
time
it
he'd go flying, he'd listen to the theme tune.
Mm.
Dun, 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 dun,
There were some really good shows though when I was growing up. There was that.
Funny you should mention that.
Oh, Callan! I love Callan.
I know you keep saying on about it, so I was like, "Look, he's going on and on about this show. I've never seen it in my life. It looks like out of Coronation Street from the back footage. It does. It's like not filmed on film. It's like filmed in
the
video?
first season. No, the first season was shot on film. I think the first season was, and then as it went on, because of technology, they moved it to video. But I tell you one thing about this show: the best thing about this show is Edward Woodward. All the way through. Yeah. There's like how many seasons?
He was
8,
shit for me.
9 seasons, 8 seasons, or whatever it was. How many seasons?
14 disc. It's 14 disc. It's like, obviously it's like Doctor Who. It's like all surviving black and white episodes from series 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So there you go. And every color episode from series 3 and 4 in the intended running order. The 1974 feature film and the 1981 television play Wet Job, which brought the saga to an end.
Yep.
And it also includes the feature-length documentary "The Man Alone," with audio commentaries by Edward Woodward.
That's the thing, you see. When the people were creating the Equalizer,
I loved Equalizer.
The guy that created Equalizer, they were looking for an actor because it was meant to be an older gentleman. So they went for all these American actors, and they were like humming and ahhing. And then one of the people saw an episode of Callan, and they thought, let's get that guy. But they didn't think, because it was quite an old episode, they thought he would look like that. And then when Edward would turn up, they were like, okay.
That's like when they got that someone tried to hire Julie Newmar.
Oh, yeah.
But they were watching an old episode of Batman. And this was like in the 80s or 90s or whatever. And she said, you realise that I don't look like that anymore.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, though, it worked for Edward Woodward because he he really did bring that
I don't
character
care.
to
That
life,
toupee
didn't
is
he?
the best. I want a toupee like that. I
And
do.
apparently that's not a toupee. Apparently that's his real hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It just
apparently
looks
that's his real
so.
hair. He was thinning. He was thinning. Very,
He
very
used to
thinning.
do a. He used to do a job. He used to like do an advertisement work here, and for I think it was Fisher and Paykel. I'm not sure, but he said, "Oh, it must be on YouTube somewhere." And he goes, "What would Edward Woodward do if Edward Woodward could?" And I was like, "That's so cool, you know, just
Yeah.
awesome name." I've never how would you have a cool name like that? So
It's good. Cullen's a really good show. I mean, sometimes they overact in it, but that was the time. That was if you
yeah.
ignore that, it was
So
really good.
he's an asshole in it,
No, he's a basically a hitman
right?
for this company,
You're right. A
and
reluctant
yeah,
professional killer.
and throughout the years, the person that runs it, they change hands, and when they change hands, they always try to control him, but
Right.
he could be never controlled because he was his own man and stuff like that, and he would question things which really pissed off his bosses and stuff. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Equalizer's great
Yeah.
as well. I
Oh
love the
man,
Equalizer.
Equalizer. There is no one else. It's like
Season 1
it's
and 2
Edward
was great.
Woodward.
The other
Yeah.
seasons were rubbish.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I love it all.
Do you?
There was one. Yeah, because his son was actually the guy out of
Yeah.
Cobra Kai as
Yes, it
well.
was. Yeah, yeah.
And when he showed up, and he was American as well, so his son,
Season
and
2. Yeah.
you could see that there was like some like hatred towards them. He just didn't like his father, sort of thing. But his father loved him so much.
But you
And
know
I
what?
just loved the fact that he had so many connections as well. Like,
Do you
I loved it when another connection would show
control?
up from
Yeah.
well, not only control, but like he'd have a connection like he'd have someone would be like a not a cameo, well sometimes a cameo, but they'd actually be the part of the story. And then like
Mickey.
they'd show up later on. Yeah.
Yeah, Mickey
Yeah.
was regular.
Yeah.
But I tell you the best episode, one of the best episodes, there's many good, great episodes, but one episode always sticks in mind is when
I
Edward
feel like
Woodward.
watching the Equalizer now.
All right. Right. So there's this
Yeah.
episode that I love, right? But basically he was at this really swanky party and these terrorists come in and hold them as hostage. So all the police is outside and everything, and they're talking to the hostages. And Edward Wood is one of the guests who's at the table. And all the way
Yeah.
through the episode, the terrorists are being mean to people and stuff like that. And so the police are trying to negotiate with them. And I can't remember, Edward Woodward is communicating with Mickey. He's saying, "You got to get in here, Mickey, because we need to clean this up." So Mickey's trying to find a way in.
Yeah.
Anyway, to cut a long story short, right? Edward Wood does nothing through this episode until a terrorist kills someone, right? And there's this bit in it where he's holding this piece of paper, and when they shoot him, he squashes the paper, and then that's when he realizes he has to do something. And how he does it is fucking genius, right? Bloody genius. What happens is that he's sitting at a table, and he says, "Excuse me," he goes, "I need to go to the loo. I'm so old, I'm an old man. I need to go to the loo." So one of the head terrorist goes, "Right, take the guy to the loo." So this terrorist with a coat takes him, and he goes into the loo. And Edward Woodward goes into the cubicle, and the guy's waiting for him, right? So Edward sees this hook on the wall, and he pulls the hook off the wall, right? Comes out the cubicle, starts washing his hands, and just sticks him in the throat with this hook. Kills him outright. Then he puts his jacket on, right? And then they say, "No, where is he? Why are they taking so long in the loo?" And the next thing you know, you can see the guy with the jacket pulling this other guy. So in other words, it was trying to fool him that it was Edward Woodward that was knocked out, and the guy, and Edward turns around, he kills them all. He turns around, he shoots all the terrorists. And that's the end. He kills them all. I was like, that was so cool, right? Because there was this old man. He's like in his 60s, whatever, and he takes them all out just like that. Yeah. It's just like it was such a cool ending to the whole thing.
To me, he was very Michael Caine. Like Michael Caine in that role as well.
Yeah,
and
I think
why I was so when they said we're making an Equalizer film, I was like, yes.
Michael Caine would have been good. Yeah,
and I really honestly thought it was going to be Michael Caine. And then when they said when Denzel Washington, I was like, no.
Well,
So,
Denzel Washington, he wasn't too bad at it, but
but he was American.
yeah, I know.
And the whole point was that he was supposed to be a British agent. Now it's a woman, for God's sake.
Oh no,
And
that's just rubbish. That one's
Latifah.
rubbish. Yeah, that one's rubbish. That's just absolute nonsense. But
It's like,
yeah,
have you ever seen that one with her in oh, she did this show with, I think it had Denzel Washington in it. It was
what was it?
he got paralyzed,
Oh,
and she
yeah,
was his
that was with not Angelina Jolie, was it? It was another
yes,
actor.
it was Angelina
Oh,
Jolie. I
right.
think it was,
Yes.
and Angelina Jolie fell in love with him
Yeah.
because he was a
And
quadriplegic,
that's it.
and Queen Latifah got murdered, and
Well,
then
Queen Latifah was
she
the
was a
nurse that
nurse.
was looking after him.
Yeah.
I don't think
She
she
got
got murdered.
murdered.
Did she?
Yeah, she did. She did. Originally, she did, and then they had to make another little bit for her to say that she survived at the end.
Oh, really? I did
She was
not know
supposed to be murdered because I remember
that.
watching it and I was like,
Right.
"Oh, she's dead." And then all of a sudden she showed up at the end, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And then, like, when I watched the audio commentary or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, yes, we just decided we couldn't kill off Queen Latifah." And I was like, yeah, but to me, that's just like it's like that's the good way of that's a way of opting out of it, and I
Yeah.
just think, sometimes, there's like a scene in The Lady and the Tramp, and like if you remember, like I don't know how long ago you've seen Lady and the
Ages
Tramp,
ago.
but
Ages.
there's a scene with these two old dogs, and one of them is a bloodhound, and the other one is a Scottish Terrier, and one of the I think it's a baby. Oh no, one of the dogs is just about to get killed or something like that in this carriage, and so this dog runs out in front of the carriage and stops the carriage, but ultimately, gets run over to
Right.
stop it. And then the next minute he's fine. Originally, they had actually decided to kill the dog off, and apparently the test audience for the kids didn't like the fact that the dog died.
Oh, right.
The next minute he's there with his leg all bandaged up, like that, poor bloodhound. So yeah,
They do that a lot in films, though. They do that when they do a test audience, and they do a lot, and they have some stupid reason why they survived, and you're like, well,
you can
how?
see that they've sort of tacked it on to a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
them, though.
you can tell, I as I said, I used to like Equalizer because he had that advert in the newspaper, and
Mm.
when he said he'll get something done, he gets it done. Heroes like that don't exist in films anymore. The
And it
ones
didn't
that
matter. It was like,
yeah,
it didn't matter. Sometimes there were just little things,
yeah,
and sometimes that they were just like they ended up being friggin' bloody going down a rabbit hole, and gangs and firefights and everything like that. And sometimes he was just helping out an old lady.
another really good episode of The Equalizer is when these criminals kidnap this Chinese billionaire son in the park, but the twist is that they didn't kidnap the right son. They kidnapped the nanny's son. So
Yeah,
they thought
I
that they
think I
caught.
remember that one.
That was a great episode, and
Yeah,
so
because then the other one was like the father was like, "I don't care."
yeah, don't care, yeah, and then
Yeah.
in the police, so the police was in the house, and she rings. She obviously answers the ad for McCall. McCall turns up, and everybody knows who he is. And he just like strolls in, and he goes up to the Chinese mum, and he goes, "I'm going to get your son back." And that's it. He goes and does his thing, and he gets the son back at the end. It's really cool. I love that. I love the idea that this man knows more than everybody in the room. It's so cool. And he's
Oh, it's
like
the
in his
same with
60s.
Columbo.
Yeah. Oh, Columbo's great as well. It's really good.
Yeah, I need to watch Columbo again. I haven't seen him for a long time. I
Love
only watched the
Columbo.
television movies in the 80s because
No,
back
those
then
ones are
they didn't
rubbish.
repeat them. Yeah, but they didn't repeat them. They don't
Ah,
repeat
right.
them, But like they'd already had like these characters in there before, and then they were playing other characters, like William Shatner and all that. So
The
I got to
70s,
see
the
those guys.
70s ones are great. The one that
Mm.
Spielberg directed. got him the gig to
I didn't know
direct
he's
Duel.
film.
Yeah, so Spielberg
Ah,
directed an episode of Columbo when he was. So the first thing Spielberg ever directed was an episode of Columbo, and it had a huge star in it. It had this huge Hollywood female star in it, and Spielberg was only 21. So because one of the people that worked at Universal saw Spielberg's film, and he said, "Come out of college, come out of film school, come and work for us." And
yeah,
Spielberg was like, "Yeah." So he got to work on Columbo, and then it was a story in the Playboy magazine called Duel, and the secretary read it and gave it to Spielberg and said, "You should read this story." And Spielberg was like, "This is Playboy," and he goes, "No, read the story." Spielberg read the story and then
they
found
had
out that
articles. Yeah,
the guy who wrote the story had a screenplay. Then he read the screenplay and he took the screenplay to the boss of Universal and he said, "We should make this as one of because they used to have Saturdays used to have a little movie, Saturday movies.
yeah,
We should make this a Saturday movie." And the guy said, "Well, what have you done?" And he goes, "I've directed an episode of Columbo." And he said, "Well, let me look at the episode of Columbo. I'll get back to you." And then a week later, he rings him up and he says, "Right, fine, you can direct it. If you can do it in 12 days, then
yeah,
you've got it." And Spielberg had to direct that film. He went 2 days over, but that film got him noticed in Europe. And
yeah.
and if it wasn't for Duel, he would never have had a movie career. That's amazing.
Nah,
I found that amazing. So
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
lucky
Sometimes
bastard.
this is dumb luck.
Yeah, lucky bastard.
Yeah, look at you. Yeah, but the problem is, see, with Spielberg is the fact that now his name is so synonymous.
Yeah.
People are frightened of him,
Um,
especially in Hollywood. Yeah, no, because
mm,
having been in like the animation industry and that sort of thing, his name strikes. It has a lot of power and a lot of pull, and a lot of people have had to, well, sort of bend the knee to him. A lot of people haven't.
mm,
But, there are some things where he has this idea and, like, a lot of them, they'll just go, "Oh, yes, alright, Stephen." But sometimes they won't. A good one to a good story is, the guy from, Spielberg liked the Batman animated series, and
mm.
so he got Bruce Timm to design, a super he wanted a whole heap of superheroes. And so they all came up with all these ideas and designs, and like, and Bruce Timm, who did Batman animated series, he won out.
Yeah.
And then Spielberg said, "And here's my idea for it." And then
Mm,
Bruce was like, "No, that's not what I had intended for this character." But because he didn't own the character or whatever, he just drew it.
yeah.
Um, Spielberg suddenly owned everything. And, I mean, yeah, it was mind you, the way that it did go, the humor, because he wanted it more humorous, like Animaniacs and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, whereas and The Mask, those sort of
Mm,
things, but, like, he wanted to keep it a little bit more grounded, like, he wanted a guy that was totally insane, but, like, the Creeper from,
yeah. Yeah.
Batman comics,
Yep.
just a little bit insane, but, like, in a proper setting, but it just didn't end up that way, but I know from certain people that, he didn't like Spielberg was a bit of an enigma, even working with him. Like, they had trouble getting hold of him and getting,
Yeah. It was.
come in
It.
and
Yeah. At that time, he was at the top of his game, though, and
oh god, this is 93, 94. This is
yeah.
Jurassic Park, and
Yes, I'm
yeah,
saying. So it's nobody could question him. That's when directors fall off their pedestal because they think they're untouchable and they think
yeah,
they can create success after success. And he learned through when he directed 1941. Suddenly realized that he wasn't unstoppable. He really needs to, but it still didn't stop him from having a huge ego. But then again, that's what happens to people when people are given
mm,
a lot of sugar. They go crazy, don't they?
yeah, yeah.
So I
It was like,
mean,
I remember he had this interview with this guy, and the Academy Awards had only just been announced, and, the guy said, "Oh, congratulations on your, 8 nominations," or something like
mm,
that. 12, 13 nominations or whatever. And he said, "Oh, you'll find it's only 12." And he said,
Mm.
No, it's like 13 nominations." And he said, "No, for Schindler's List." And he said,
Mm.
"Jurassic Park?"
Oh, Jurassic Park,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, I did do that film."
That's he was making both. It was really strange because immediately when he finished making Jurassic Park, he went straight on to Schindler's List. So when he was directing Schindler's List, he was approving the effects via computer, via millions of miles away from where they were doing Jurassic Park. So he's literally had to juggle with those two projects. He wasn't going to direct Schindler's List, but it was Kate Capshaw that told him that he had to because of his
Yeah.
heritage, and that's
Well, he
why he
read the
did it.
book, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he did.
Thomas Keneally book. As
But
an Australian.
he was saying because I saw an interview once. He was saying to Kate, he was going, "Look, I'm not mature enough to direct something like Schindler's List." And then she said to him, "Well, when are you going to be? Do you know what I mean? You might as well do it when it's up to you. When you're going to be." And then he said, "Okay, fine, I'll direct it." And it was an amazing film. Schindler's List is an amazing film. Well
Oh yeah,
directed.
but for me, it's only a one watch.
Yeah, same here, same here. I actually no, I've watched it twice, but I can't watch it again because it's very depressing.
It
It's a very
is
depressing
extremely
film.
depressing.
Yeah,
I
well
mean,
made
I
though.
understand it. Oh yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, anything to do with World War II was depressing.
Yeah.
But it's I think I have a what the hell is that?
I
I
don't
think
know.
that's a troll.
I don't know what that is.
Oh god.
I do think Spielberg is definitely the best director in my lifetime, but I understand sometimes people can lose it a bit, and and be it happens to the best of us really, but you can't deny his success and his talent. The guy is a
Yeah.
pretty amazing producer director.
Oh,
So
he is. And I mean,
mm,
he's 75 now. He's just had his
yeah,
birthday.
yeah, wow, happy
And it's
birthday,
like,
Steve.
75, he won't
I'd
be
love to meet
50.
him one day, but the chances of me meeting him, I guess, is very remote. But
Oh, God, anyone
um,
would want to.
he made my childhood. You see,
Yeah.
that's the thing. He probably doesn't realize that. He's probably got a lot of people that's kissed his ass and said, yeah,
Yeah.
really loved this and loved that, whatever. But I don't think people like them, because they're so high on the pedestal, they don't realize that they have affected people like me and you as kids. Gremlins,
Mm,
Back to the Future, Raiders. Those kind of films shaped our lives, when we were growing up, and
yeah.
that's an amazing thing, I guess.
And I think, to a degree, I think a lot of people are a little bit too harsh on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I mean, no, I do. I think
You
yeah,
like
I
it, though,
think
don't you?
I do. I
Yeah.
do. And it's only because I find it entertaining, and
Yeah.
to me, it doesn't ruin canon.
Mm.
It does a little bit, but only if you watch the last 5 minutes, to me. 'Cause to me, I don't think that Indiana Jones would get married. I just
Yeah.
don't see him doing that. It'd be like James Bond, straight out the window
Yeah.
on another adventure, He's like, "Sorry, kid." But,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only thing that really got to me. I mean, I can understand he had a son and all that, and I know that they were trying to set it all up. But there's a lot of things where, I mean, they try to set movies up for a sequel and it never ever eventuates.
Exactly.
And then sometimes they have a movie like, say, Pirates of the Caribbean, where they had no sequel set up
Yeah.
whatsoever. And then all of a sudden it's a huge hit and they're like, "Oh, shit.
Got to make another
Let's
one. Yeah.
make
Yeah.
another one and let's try and make, let's try and spin off from what we just did," and it doesn't work. So
What about Master of the Universe canon version? At the ending, Skeletor comes out of the pit, doesn't he? Goes, "I'll be back,"
at the
and then
end
it
of the
just cuts to
credits.
black, and you're like, "No."
Well, it's the same with when you watch like things like funny you should mention Spielberg. He
Mm.
produced a show called Young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I remember
And
that. Yeah.
there was another thing where he did this crime. There was a credit scene at the end, and then it just follows a
Yeah.
horse-drawn carriage in the snow,
Mm.
and like this guy gets out, walks
It's the
into a
same
hotel.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that walks into a hotel and then signs his name, and it was Moriarty.
Marathi, yeah. But he
And
was
then
in the film.
Yeah. That's what I mean. No,
Yeah.
like I mean, you didn't know that till the end,
Yeah,
sort of thing,
exactly.
after the
Yeah.
credits.
Yeah.
But that was like leaving it open, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they were doing. I used to love
And
things like that. I used to always wait till the credits ended, even on Doctor Who.
even in was it Flash Gordon when Ming was meant to be dead and
Yeah,
he picks up the
picked up
ring
the
at the
ring.
end? Yeah, and it's like, yeah,
Do you
sequel
know who that
time.
was? Do you know who that was?
Oh,
That was actually supposed to be what's the name? It was Peter Wyngarde's character.
oh,
Cletus.
Clytus, yeah.
Cletus. Yeah. It was actually supposed to be him, and he was supposed to be a clone of
Ming.
Ming.
Excellent.
Yeah. That's the reason why when he got stabbed on that thing, he suddenly turned into like a horrible goo.
Yeah.
But
That was
apparently,
that movie was weird, but it was very entertaining. Very entertaining.
I love
the
Flash
girls
Gordon,
in
I
that
really
film
do.
were amazing. You know, looking wise. There were some gorgeous women in there, especially the Italians. Who's that girl? Who was that girl that was Ming's daughter? She was lovely.
Princess Adala.
Is
Aurora.
Aurora,
Princess
yeah, she was
Aurora.
lovely, wasn't she? She
Yeah,
was nice.
she was nice, but do you tell me what she's doing now?
I don't know, living off the money off Flash Gordon, I guess. I don't know.
They didn't make any money. Haven't you watched the Flash Gordon documentary?
No.
Life
They didn't
After
make any money.
Flash.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
I got the
Sam,
UK
yeah, it's
release.
amazing. Sam Jones
Okay.
voice was dubbed, wasn't it, in the film?
Well, yeah, because they hated him. They tried to. It was funny. They tried to erase him completely from that film. Very much. You'll find that his career mirrors
George Lazenby's. Yeah, George Lazenby's. Yeah, it
yeah,
does.
you know, doesn't get along with the producer, and producer says do as I tell you to, and like he goes, no, fuck you, and you know, he's like, well, I'll destroy you, you know, that sort of. So he just literally.
But the thing is, he's known for Flash Gordon, and he's done the rounds in the circuit and stuff, and he's made money doing that.
He was in a good show called the Hitman. It had the guy from the Energizer ad, Echo Jackson, and it was voiced. The narration at the beginning was voiced by James L. Jones, and you on it. I'm pretty sure it was called the Hitman. But
do you remember that show called Tales of the Golden Monkey?
Yes, that was done by that pedophile guy.
But it had the guy from Star Trek, didn't it? The Decker. It had the Decker. He played the main character.
Yeah, that's him. He's the pedophile.
Oh, is he? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. He ended up having a divorce from his daughter.
Oh, right.
Oh, no, not his daughter.
His daughter.
His wife. He got a divorce from his wife.
Oh, right.
And his wife turned around and said, well, you were having it off with a 14-year-old girl. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then they're like, well, no, it's not okay. And he got outed. And literally everybody that was on that, he did a show called Seventh Heaven.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody on that show, because it had the bird from Star Trek 4 in it as well. Everybody in that, and Child's Play as well, she was in that. But everybody on that show just totally denounced him and said, you know, we don't want anything to do with him. So it destroyed his career, totally destroyed his career. So just having a divorce, you know, was probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Fair enough. But, you know,
fair enough.
Sort of people could get cancelled, but you know.
Yeah, no, it's not good, is it?
So you can't watch it because it had what's his name in it too. That Tales of the Gold Monkey had the one out of Magnum.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Before he did Magnum.
Yes, yeah.
And that show was actually produced before Indiana Jones too.
No, it wasn't. It was after Indiana
wasn't
Jones.
It?
Yeah, it was after. And the thing that always makes me laugh about that show is that
Are you sure?
Yes, definitely.
Because Tom Selleck was supposed to be in Indiana Jones.
No,
because he had Magnum.
Yes, but this Tales of the Golden Monkey came out after Raiders of the Lost Ark. But the thing that made me laugh about this show was that it was slow. You know, if you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's very fast. You know, you got
Yeah.
action, then you got a bit
It
of
was
thing, and
episodic,
action,
wasn't
action,
it?
action.
It was
This one
episodic.
was incredibly slow, and the
Mm.
hero was absolutely crap at fighting. And it's like, how could you make an Indiana Jones show when it was slow and the guy was not good at fighting? That is stupid. You know, it's just really ridiculous. But if you want to copy Indiana Jones, do it properly. That's what I can say. But yeah, interesting.
I always nearly lost my shelf. I've got a copy of Indiana
What's
Jones on
that?
4K.
Ah, I heard that one's not worth getting. Apparently,
Why?
because of the extras are not the extras are the
Oh,
same as the
no.
Blu-ray, so it's pointless.
Well, it didn't
Someone
come
was
with the
saying.
Blu-rays. It only came with the 4Ks.
Oh, okay.
And it was, yeah, I know. I was very disappointed when I got it because I was like, oh,
You
because they
can't play it.
upscaled the Blu-ray. No, they upscaled the Blu-ray as well.
Mm.
So, the older Blu-rays that you've got aren't as good.
I know they rubbed out the reflection of the snake because remember that scene where he
they did
falls and
that
you
with the
see there
DVD as well.
it was
They did
glass,
that with the
wasn't it? And you
DVD
could
as
see the
well.
reflection
Yeah.
of the snake, and they
But there's
basically
something about
digitally
that
removed
makes
it.
it tangible and real.
Yeah, I know,
You know?
I know. They should never have touched it.
It's like when they stuff with Star Wars and that sort of thing, you know. It's just, it doesn't need it. The same with Ghostbusters, you know. I mean, yeah, okay. So things annoy you when you're a director
Mm,
and a special effects expert, Matt, and you really want to go back and fix it.
yeah.
But it's like James Cameron when he fixed that Terminator 2.
Mm,
He there was a scene where the truck falls off into the concrete basin.
yeah.
And windscreen comes out, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden it's back in.
Yeah.
So he literally digitally took that out when they were making the 3D version and left it in there so that it didn't happen, you know?
Oh, that's okay. Correcting things like that's okay, I guess. But when you
Oh, I don't
fundamentally change something in Star Wars, when you fundamentally change Han Solo not shooting Greedo first, then that is a
Oh,
big
God,
mistake.
yes.
That's a huge
Yeah.
mistake. That's a huge
Well, you're
change.
changing the narrative, aren't you?
Exactly. So I don't mind if you correct something within the film that doesn't make any sense, like a continuity error or something. I know there's a scene in Fugitive, right? If you've got the DVD Fugitive, you can see one of the cameramen in a shot.
Yeah.
In the original film is actually in shot. You can see the cameraman's there. But
Yeah.
when it came out in Blu-ray, they erased the cameraman. That's okay because that doesn't affect the story. That's just correcting an error that wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. That's fine. But when you go back and you change the narrative of the story, that's when they shouldn't do it at all.
No,
you know?
that's exactly right. It's like, oh
Yeah.
no, because you've just put something in my head now where they're going to go back and change it so Boba Fett actually flies out.
Have you been
I
watching
can see
Boba
that
Fett?
now.
By the way,
No. I can watch it at any time, but I don't want to. It's like I think I upset Dan the other day because he was he was looking so excited about it. I was like, you know what? Sometimes it's good not to know the mystique of a character.
yeah, exactly. You're right.
And it's like Han Solo, you know, I don't want to know his backstory. When
Nor
they
do I.
first announced that Solo film, I was like, why? You know, I mean, okay, but you're not going to have Harrison Ford in it, and it's not going to be. I don't want to know his backstory. There's even a Lego show where he's a small boy, you know, and he was raised by Wookiees.
Yeah, I know it's stupid, isn't it? It's absolutely stupid. It's like what is it? So what's your name? I don't have a surname. All right, we'll just call you Solo then. I'm like, what the hell? What?
It's
I
like
don't
Luke
understand.
Skywalker. Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah, it's like, well, why
Like,
do that?
Skywalker.
I just don't understand that kind of logic, really. I really don't. Yeah, it's just stupid.
But they thought that the thing is, though, that the company actually thought that was cool.
I know. That's how.
Yeah. Oh, people are gonna love it. He's gonna think, you know, where did he get his name from? There's stuff we don't need to know.
No, exactly. I mean, you're gonna be watching it because he wants to do one on Sunday, doesn't he? He wants to do a Boba Fett episode on Sunday, I think. So I don't know if you want to.
Who's this, Dan?
Dan, yeah, Dan.
I probably won't be able to. Oh no, I don't know. Probably he hasn't invited me, so that's fine. He invited me.
I thought he said he did.
No, but he invited me to the Christmas thing. But I'm kind of glad I missed that because I had no idea what you guys were talking.
We would just talk. We would well, it would have been up your street actually, Matt.
No, no,
Because
no,
we.
no. Because
Mm,
I mean, I just it was. I know you guys were talking about Morecambe and Wise Christmas specials and all that, but
yeah.
like the Woolworth sings and all that. I've
Oh
only just got
well,
back and
yeah.
seen all that now
Yeah, but that was
because
just
I'm
a
like,
small.
oh,
Yeah, but
I'm
Matt,
like,
that was just a small
what's
part of
that?
it, though. A lot of the stuff
Yeah, I
you
know.
would know, wouldn't you? Like what is it? Are you been served Christmas special? You would know all that stuff because you watch
Oh,
that
yeah,
stuff. You know, you
yeah,
would know
yeah,
all
and I
that
do
stuff.
remember
So.
the whole opening up of the coat thing,
Yeah.
and they're
So
like, and it's slowly happening, and they're like, I
yeah,
love
so
that.
yeah,
I was
you would
watching
know all
some
that
Lower
stuff.
Low earlier, and I was like, fuck,
Yeah,
that's funny. It's
it
like,
is.
and they're like, oh, don't. He's just like, I put some chewing gum on the handset, so it'll still you can still hear what's happening out
Yeah.
in the corridor. And he goes out to the corridor while the captain goes into the other room, and he goes,
Mm.
and don't use the chewing gum trick on
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh. And he's like, you need to stay away 10 steps away from the keyhole.
But the question is, Matt, did France buy that show?
Yes.
Then how does that work?
Apparently with the guy that spoke, the policeman that could speak rubbish French,
Yeah.
he apparently they were just he used to speak gobbledygook in French,
Ah, right, I got you.
and that's how they got around that bit. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, you realise that every German officer in that show was hung at the end of the
Yeah,
comedy.
yeah.
And it's not like they're gonna show it, it's like,
No.
I've been watching this one, I only remember it very, very vaguely when I was a kid, and it was, uh, um, oh, It Ain't Half Hot, Mum,
Oh yeah, yeah. That
and
won't be allowed today.
no,
Exactly.
not with a guy in blackface,
That's right.
and I'm like, "Wow, ouch," and I'm like, I understand them getting because they got a guy from Pakistan in it too, and he
Yeah.
ended up being because I'm like, "Oh, he's from Mind Your Language," but
Mm. Yeah,
but
he is.
I was, like, watching it, but they're like, he's saying the P word to
Mm.
the thing, and that's the way that they used to talk in the army.
Yeah.
You're all a bunch of peas, and all this, and it's like, and I find it hilarious, but it's the same with, you heard about, them trying to cancel, what was it? Some Others Do Have 'Em?
Oh really? Why?
The Christmas episode, BritBox.
But why?
Someone put in a complaint because and I still remember the scene actually when Michael Crawford's dressed as a pixie,
Oh, okay.
and he
Okay.
goes, "What are you dressed as? A poof?" And
Yeah.
then like everybody's laughing. He's like, "No, I'm a pixie."
But that's the thing, you
It's
see,
like
that
it's hilarious, but
you
like,
shouldn't you shouldn't cancel things like because that is the time. That was what happened at the time.
exactly.
This is
That's what
it's
they're
part of
trying to do now.
history.
'Cause they're going, "Oh, my kid was watching that." It's like, well, why the hell you got your kid
Kid
watching it?
watching it, yeah. But that's the thing, you see. If you're gonna do that, you might as
It's
well just
going,
cancel any film
okay.
about World War II. You might as well just
I know,
cancel all of them. Do you know what I
I
mean?
know you and I hadn't seen Dark Knight Rises. And you
Mm.
know there was that famous there was a massacre in the US
Yeah,
where someone went into a movie theater, killed a
yeah,
lot of people.
and shot. Yeah, yeah.
One of the kids was only like 5 years old, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing? I know it's Batman and everything, but what the hell are you doing taking them to Dark Knight Rises?"
I
It's a
know.
it wasn't really made for them, and I know that it was an M film or whatever. So what the hell, you know? And one of the kids is dead because of it, and it's like, well, people don't care anymore. I remember I had to go and see, the Dead not it's not Dead by Dawn. What's the one
That's till dawn.
with Dusk Till Dawn? Yeah. I remember I actually got asked how old I was.
Yeah.
And I went into the movie theater, and I'm like, "I'm 21?" And I must have looked about 16 when I was but I was like I've still got a young face, but like you know? But anyway, I was just like, "That was so weird," but, even then, I couldn't get into a movie theater at my age. Even in the US, you can't even have alcohol, for God's
No, you
sake,
can't.
unless you're 21. And I was 33, and they were asking me for my ID, and I'm like, I'm bald. I'm
Well,
like, can't you understand as well that, I'm a bit older than 21?
yeah, but as a in America, you're allowed to take kids to see an R, aren't you? As long as they're accompanied by an
Why?
adult. Apparently, I don't
Really?
know. I don't
It's
know. I think
crazy.
so.
Oh,
I
it
think
wouldn't
so.
surprise me. America's crazy.
I think in America you're allowed to
Sorry,
do that.
it
I'm not
is.
sure though. I remember I took my nephews to see First Contact, and they were too young to see it.
Yeah,
But they I got them in the cinema. Apparently, they
that
turned a
hasn't
blind
aged
eye.
well. Hasn't aged
First
well.
Contact. I haven't seen it in ages. First Contact,
Mm.
but
The effects
yeah.
in it hasn't aged well in the
All right.
slightest.
That's when
They,
Picard was Picard, not this old man that they've got now. It's
do you know?
ridiculous. Mm.
And this is the funny thing when we're talking about, Australia's always behind in getting things. We've
Yeah.
got Paramount Plus now.
Have you?
Yeah, it's part of the Amazon network.
Oh, okay.
So you actually have to have Amazon Prime Video,
Prime, yeah.
and then it's one of the channels. So that means that we have to pay for Amazon Prime, then Paramount, and then that's when we'll get to see Picard, because last time it was free on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, you don't
So
want to
this
watch
time around
Picard.
it'll be like that's what they were saying. They got rid of Discovery, off Netflix. There's
I
no loss.
don't even want to see Discovery nor Picard. Those shows are terrible. I really don't want to see that. It's not real. It's not real Star Trek at all, is
I
it,
was
mate?
I was watching. There was a game that they released to publicize Matrix Resurrections, and it was on PS5.
Mm.
And anyway, it's supposed to show off the latest technology and everything. And it starts in the car with, I don't know if you've seen this, but it starts in like they're trying to show that, there's a difference between Keanu Reeves and his, not much difference between the real Keanu and his doppelganger, which is a video game
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
simulation.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And anyway, he ends up being Neo again in the car with Trinity.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he turns around and there's a black girl in the back. And then he's like, "Oh, you're here. Oh, well, I'll go now." And I'm like, "No, no, no, no." And then
Yeah.
it all becomes about the girl. And I'm like, and he flies out the window. And I'm like, and you don't see him again. And I'm like, that's just, what's the point?
Yeah, I know, but they're doing that, aren't they?
Invested in
Are
it.
you surprised? They always do that, don't they? It's
No, I just think
ridiculous.
it's really. It's like I was playing a video game the other day because I've been in isolation, so why not? I was playing this game called Kena and the Bridge of Spirits, which is a really, really good game. If you haven't, it's very old school
Mm.
anyway, but it's very Pixar-esque. And anyway,
Mm.
I'm playing, and they talk about her going to save this spirit of a woodcutter, and I'm like, oh, okay, woodcutter. And the next minute, it ends up being a woman. And I'm like, okay, a female woodcutter. Okay. That knocks down trees and everything like that sort of thing. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, you meet her girlfriend.
I know
And
it's
they're
what's
holding
happening.
hands. And you're like,
But that's what's happening these days, mate. That's it. It's really strange, isn't
it
it?
takes you out. It's like you've put, yourself. You get the right person for the role. You don't
Mm.
get it to fit a narrative that you're trying to, say that you're progressive and everything like that. I mean, do you feel bad that you're not progressive? I mean, I feel I'm progressive enough, but just the fact that you've got to get used to it as well.
I don't, you know what?
Right.
That's the thing. You see, it's when they take this, that thing's more important than the story. That's when it doesn't work. And we're not in control of these things. All we can do is just watch things that we actually like watching, rather than. watching
going back
that
to all
stuff.
my old stuff. I'm going
Yeah,
back
same
to all the
here.
old stuff. I'm learning a lot from Dan, believe it or not, and
Mm,
you, especially when you're watching, because that's what I said to Dan. I said sometimes it's just good to watch, rather than participate, because I learn so much.
yeah.
But like, bringing back my memories and that, I mean, my God, the Kenny
Kenny
Everett
Everett
show.
show. Is that the ITV one or the BBC one?
I think
Because the ITV one was far more funnier, in my opinion.
what is this? Because this is Kenny Everett video show.
Oh,
But
that's
I couldn't
ITV.
see, it was on ABC. So
Right.
here in Australia. So to me, everything that was Kenny Everett was always on ABC. So it wouldn't have mattered.
Okay, right. So let me tell you the history behind it. Right. So Kenny Everett video show started on ITV, and Kenny Everett never had an audience, right?
All right. Yep.
And the
Yep, I can
beauty
believe
of
that.
the Kenny Everett television show was that when he said something that was funny, the crew that was on camera, that was in the background,
They do a lot in this too. They do it a
but
lot
that's
in
what I'm
this
saying.
too.
So that must be Kenny Everett video show, which was on ITV. So on ITV, they never used to have an audience, and Kenny Everett was so
Right.
funny that the crew couldn't help laughing, and they just kept the laughter in there from the crew. So when he was talking, when he was doing something funny, the crew would be laughing, the cameraman would be laughing, and he just kept it in there. And the Kenny Everett video show, that's how they operated. Straight. And then the BBC convinced Kenny Everett to come on the BBC, and then that's when they had an audience and with canned laughter and stuff like that. And and for me, it lost something. The Kenny Everett video show was far more funny. He used to do sketches where he took the mickey out of Rod Stewart, take the mickey out of Cliff Richard, and had all those banks of TVs behind him, and just say something really daft, and people would start laughing. I used to find that hilarious. Then when he went to the BBC, he had that Cupid, that Cupid woman, all done in the best possible taste and all that crap. And it was all right. It was all right, but it wasn't as funny as the ITV version, in my opinion. So you probably got both versions and probably thought it was the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, this says it's a complete series, but it's got a few discs in it too. It's got like
it's probably got all of them from the BBC version
1980s up to the 1980 New Year's Eve special, up to season series 3.
Because Captain Kremen was in the ITV version.
That's in this one.
Right, so that must be the ITV version. Yep. So you used to have the little cartoon, Captain Kremen.
Yeah, cartoon. I used to love that. That was done by Cosgrove Hall, who did Danger
It
was,
yeah. And the BBC,
I don't think he did all the voices.
He did. He used to do it on his radio show as well. He used to have the adventures. Yeah, so he had a show on Capital Radio Saturday evenings, and I used to listen to it, and he was very funny.
He used to be a DJ, but
yes. So basically, he used to play music, but the majority of his show was him making all these funny voices and doing different characters and stuff like that.
When Kenny Everett died, when they announced that he died, because he only died in like 91.
Yeah.
Because it was AIDS, wasn't it? It was AIDS related.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
But, it wasn't that far after Queen, Freddie Mercury. But I remember when he died, when they announced he died, and I was like, that's the start of my childhood. Watching his show, him and watching Spike Milligan.
Yeah.
Was it Q?
Spike Milligan.
Yeah, Spike Milligan had a show called Q, was it?
It was called the Spike Milligan Show over here.
No. There was another show that he had, and it was just like one letter.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Well, it was quite funny because I think that's the one with the Dalek, the famous Dalek, Pakistani Dalek.
Oh, right. But what you call it? Kenny Everett used to have the Adventures of Captain Kremen on his radio show, and that's how it got transferred to the ITV show as a cartoon. So he used to do all the voices, and he used to do the mixing of the sound effects. So like if you listen to radio now, you have a DJ going, and here is ABBA, and they'll be chatting about it. But Kenny Everett made his show completely different to everybody's show because he was a character, and he did all these different voices and stuff.
And
it was like a radio show.
As an adult. Now I'm watching it as an adult. I never realized that his spaceship was a cassette recorder.
It was, yeah, it was.
It's the same with Carry On films. When I was watching Carry On films as a kid, like 10 years of age, when I used to go and see my friend every Friday night, we used to go and hang out every Friday night, my parents used to go over there and talk adult stuff, and we used to sit down and watch Carry On movies that, I would have taped the night before. And, like, we were just laughing, and it was like, and it's just the way that they acted, It was the mincing around and everything like that, but a lot of the jokes never ever got them until later on in life when I
Until you
actually
get
watched
grown
it,
up.
and see all of a sudden, Sid James with a buffalo gun, and then all of a sudden the buffalo gun, like, he gets turned on, and the buffalo gun gets knocked up into.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sort of stuff is subtle humor that you actually finally get as an adult, And I could watch them all the time and pick up new stuff all the time,
Like Sid James always used to make me laugh. He always used to play the same character, and his character was always named Sid. Always. Sid. Oh, is this Wes's house? Yeah, I remember that show.
I love that show. That's actually, they showed this, and then they followed it up with after this had finished, they followed it up with Only Fools and Horses, and I could never get into that show.
Do you know what? Right, I saw a picture on Twitter of Richard O'Sullivan and Mike Yarwood as they are now. Oh my gosh! Obviously, they're really old.
I don't know who Mike Yarwood is. He's in
Mike Yarwood. All right, Mike Yarwood used to be an impersonator. He was like huge in the 70s. He had a show and he did impersonations of everybody, from politicians to
a lot of things, like a lot of politicians and that sort of thing. We never really got through.
Yeah. But those two were the cream of entertainment in the 70s. Richard O'Sullivan. He was like Man About the House. I started watching
Man About the House. Yeah, I actually started watching it. I didn't know it had 3 sequels. Like, it had 3 different series.
Yeah, it did. It had one was Robin's Nest, was the spin-off to Man About, and then he had Me and My Girl. Yep. But he was playing the same character,
Because I found out Tim Brooke Taylor was in that one.
Me and My Girl,
and I was like, because there was a lot of stuff that we didn't. I mean, the goodies lasted for years and years here, and it was like throughout the entire 80s, it was the goodies and Monkey Magic. And
Monkey.
Those two shows just like constantly on all the time, and Doctor Who as well.
But the goodies is genius, though. When you watch it now, it's absolutely. I mean, Gunfight the OK. What is it? Gunfight the OK tea room.
Bun
it's
fight
brilliant
at the old
OK tea room. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, the imagination in that.
Scones.
The scones. The fight at the ending with the ketchup bottles and stuff. That was absolutely
I've
funny.
always wanted a sauce bottle like that.
It's absolutely hilarious. I'm just saying that genius. A lot of people used to say it was a kid's show, but when you look at it as an adult, you realize it was genius.
See, it was edited here to be a kid's show.
How was it?
They actually edited a lot of stuff out, like him sucking on sherbet, and that sort of thing. Those sort of things were sort of edited out so that he wouldn't be thinking of like naked ladies and all that sort of stuff. So
I was thinking to myself, if they had made the goodies,
Monkey though.
Yeah, Monkey was great.
Monkey was edited too.
It was, especially over here as well.
They took out the P word, which I mentioned
earlier. So when they showed the first episode, BBC Two showed it, and they showed it in its entirety. So there's a scene in it where Monkey is flying on his cloud, and he wants to go for a pee, and he sees this pillar in the cloud, and he pees on the pillar, but it was Buddha's finger. It was Buddha's finger that he peed on. Yeah, the hand of Buddha. And when they showed it again, they cut that scene out.
Yeah, they did that. They did that in the ABC as well.
Yeah, so they cut it out.
Because I was really shocked when I saw that. And there's a scene where he's like knocking on the door of this like villain, and he's like, "Come up," or P word.
Yeah.
And just it's funny. It is funny. It's like I was watching something the other day with John Cleese, and he was talking about. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You would have. You would have. There was an advertisement for the BBC license. How you got to pay a license for the BBC or whatever.
I know that.
Well, he walks into a pub. John Cleese walks into a pub, and he starts complaining about having to pay 56 quid for a license, TV license, and he's like, "There's nothing worthwhile on it." And then all of a sudden, all the people around him at the pub. The two Ronnies are on the table.
Yeah. I think I've seen that ad. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think you'd get John Cleese to make that today.
Exactly. Yeah, you won't, because he's totally against this woke stuff now, isn't he? He's
Oh,
absolutely
isn't
against it.
he?
Yeah,
Well, I
he
mean,
really hates
they've
it.
tried to catch him out a few times,
Mm,
especially
yeah.
recently on the BBC. They've really got it in for him, and yet they're showing apparently they're showing Faulty Towers at prime time over
Well,
there. There's
he
nothing else.
when he was making Faulty Towers, they complained a lot, and they said to him, "Your show can't be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's got to be a set time." And then what's his name? John Cleese said, "Well, okay, fine. I'll just not make it then." And they
Yeah.
buckled, and they let it make so every episode is a different time set, so it's not.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah,
isn't
every
it?
episode's
Sometimes
different.
they go
Yeah,
for like 45 minutes.
and they asked him about
40
that. They
minutes.
said to him, "Well, why did you choose to make every episode?" Because he's and then his explanation was, when you're writing gags for a show, if the gag naturally
Yeah,
stops, then it
yeah,
has to stop. You can't drag out a joke.
yeah.
If there's a natural point where it has to stop, and if
Mm,
I'm a set time, if the show has to be 30 minutes, I have to make other jokes after that joke, and those jokes never work because they're not part of the original structure. So that's his reason why he would make shows at different lengths, because he realized that humor only had especially humor involved in a situation, only had a set time.
mm,
So
mm.
yeah, so he had a lot of power in those days, I guess. And in
Yeah,
those
see,
days,
I mean,
who was running the BBC drama? It was Richard Attenborough was running it. He was in
ah,
charge. Yeah, before he became this dinosaur. Before he came that, yeah, he was in charge of. I think it was BBC drama. I think
Danny,
he was.
he's the climate change advocate now, isn't he?
He's good at what he does, though, and he's like in his 90s and he's still going, mate. You got to take
Well,
your hat off to that.
he's what's his name? He's Richard Attenborough's
Yes, brother.
hmm,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he's long gone. I
Yeah.
saw I saw an action figure for Richard Attenborough the other day.
What, for Jurassic Park? It's great. I
What the fuck did you do with an?
I don't know. Just kind of put him in the. Did it have a little toy set where he's in the control
Yeah.
room? You can put him in the control room.
No. He's in the white safari suit,
Ah, right. Okay.
the shorts, and there's a couple of eggs.
Oh dear. Well,
Oh my
I
god!
I love that film. I think that film's amazing. But I think
Oh yeah. Oh,
I think Richard Attenborough's when he was alive, he was amazing too. He was a great director. He was a great
he
actor.
did this great movie that I'll never watch again because it just absolutely it
What's that?
freaked me out.
Magic.
No. Richard Attenborough.
Yeah.
He did a movie called Rillington Place.
Oh
Uh,
yes, with John
Not
Hurt. John Hurt was in it. Yeah, I
and
saw it.
I got the 4K of Jurassic
Oh,
as well.
excellent.
But yeah, and there's like a scene there where he's just about to, because he sets John Hurt up and
Kills his
get
wife.
hung, and
Yeah.
he goes into the, because back in those days, once he was sentenced to death, he got sent straight to the hangman's noose,
Yeah,
and
you
that
did,
was
yeah.
it. And like it's just so indelibly in my mind where he's like, I didn't do it, and I didn't do it, and they're just, come on, son, and they're just putting the thing straight over him and going, I didn't do it, and he just got
Christy.
straight off.
He kept saying, "It was Christy that did it. It was Christy." Do you remember that? He was going, "It was Christy. It wasn't me." Yeah, and
Well,
that
they got him
creepy
in the
scene.
end, but
Yeah, that really creepy scene when he's going, "Breathe in." Remember, he's making the woman. He had the thing because she wanted an abortion,
coat
right?
hanger. Yeah,
That was it. And he was like putting the thing on her face. Go, "Don't worry, breathe in, breathe in." I was like, "That's so
yeah,
creepy." Good
yeah.
actor though. He's a really good actor.
Oh yeah, extremely. He did a really good one. But I was a bit disappointed by the film. It was called Seance on a Wet Afternoon.
I haven't seen that one.
You've not seen that? It's one of
No.
the like, it's black and white.
Mm.
And actually, you mentioned that, I watched a movie the other day, and it had, actually, I think I might have it here. This one here, right? I started
I
watching
haven't seen that one.
Lady Godiva Rides Again. It's black and white.
Yeah.
It's got some guy called Stanley Holloway in it, which I've
Don't know.
heard the name, but like they're old UK comedians or whatever. But the selling point for this is the fact that it's got down the bottom Diana Dawes,
Oh, okay.
and she's
Diana
hardly in
Dawes.
it.
Well, I mean, trying to
I
sell it,
think it's
aren't they?
actually her first film, and like
Yeah,
apparently she was a big Hollywood star in like she got a big name in Hollywood for some reason.
yeah.
And so they actually re-released it and they called it something else, but they put
But do you
Diana
do you,
Dawes
do you
as her.
remember?
She wasn't even the star of it. Oh,
Do you,
Bikini Baby. That's what they did. They actually changed the name of it to Bikini
Bikini
Baby
Baby. Do you
and put it
remember
in America.
in the 80s when Frank Stallone was doing all these action films and they put Stallone on the cover, wouldn't they? But you think it
Yeah.
was Sylvester, but it was
You
his
want to hear
brother
something?
Frank.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
They did a. Have you ever seen his mother, Stallone's mother?
Yes, yeah, of course.
She was a crazy kook. And anyway, I remember she went on Australian television once, and she actually saw herself on the television screen, and she
Mm.
said, "Oh my God, I look like a hag."
Well, she got a face
And
fix, didn't she?
she was a real
Yeah.
hag. But anyway, what they did was, she actually did a fitness video,
Oh no, really?
and what they did was they actually had it for the elderly people, and Red Letter Media.
Yeah.
They actually did review this video of this exercise for elderly people, and
Oh no.
they had Al Pacino's father.
Really? Oh no, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so
And they
funny.
had all these elderly, old famous people, like their parents, doing the exercises, and it was like
Oh
whatever
no.
they could do for a quick buck. I wonder if you can find it on. I'll try and track it down and get it
It's
to you.
probably got a clip on
It's
it
somewhere on
somewhere
Red
on
Letter.
YouTube or
Well, it's
something.
on Red Letter Media anyway,
Or is
but
it?
it's just like it's a really odd thing with watching old people doing exercises and trying to split their legs.
But when I was working as post production, I used to do a lot of those sell through VHSs. I did not Darren Brown, who was the guy who hypnotized people in the 80s. He did one about trying to stop smoking and stuff like that, or trying to lose weight. And I used to
Oh,
do the
did you do that?
graphics for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did some. Yeah, well, I did some graphics for the sell through. I did the graphics for the best of Mr. Bean. And in those days, remember VHSs? They used to package the VHSs up, didn't they?
Yeah,
And so they can sell them cheap.
yeah,
Like put all the episodes of season
in a
one of
bunch.
Mr. Bean on one
Yeah,
VHS. Yeah,
yeah,
stuff like that. But there was this big thing about exercise videos, hypnotized videos, health videos. There was even one that I worked on called the history of no, sex. It was about sex. It was basically sexual positions and stuff like that. And they shot. I'm serious. They shot these people, this couple, and
sad thing
naked.
is I
Obviously
know you
naked.
are.
It was basically about sexual positions and how to do sex properly. And this was a sell through video that was in Woolworths, and that was in the places where families used to go to. As I'm saying, in those days it was big,
It's weird
huge.
actually because I just stumbled upon this, so don't wonder where I know this knowledge.
Mm,
But you know how YouTube has a very strict policy about
yeah.
nudity and all that sort
Yes.
of thing? Well, I'm watching this stuff all on breastfeeding,
That's
and
what I'm saying. But
I'm looking at it and I'm like, but she doesn't look. I know she's a mother, but
mm,
she doesn't look like a proper mother. Like you can tell that she does other things on the side.
but you know why they get
But
away
she's
with it
using it
though?
as a way to advertise,
But
and it's
Dan, but Matt, the reason why they get away because there's this rule. So in those days, so for instance, right, they had this. I worked on this video. It was called "The Joy of Sex," right, and
yep, I
it
remember that one.
literally
You
had.
worked on that.
I worked at the graphics. It literally had. No, I'm serious, Matt. They literally had sex scenes in that video,
Mm,
and the reason why it wasn't 18 because it was under the ban of educational.
yep,
That's why. And it's the same thing with this as well. It's under the ban of
yep,
educational. So you can
yep,
have someone that actually gets their breasts out and talk
yeah,
about breastfeeding, but it's under
yeah,
educational. You could have two
yeah,
people, right, in a sexual position, naked, and it's under. So it'd be like a 15 when it really should be an 18. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
So
mm,
there's like a loophole I don't know about
Yes.
today, but in those days, there was a
No,
loophole.
it's still going on. It's
Is
still
it?
going on. Yeah, yeah, it is. When you see them doing these breast thing, well, whatever. I'm not
Yeah,
really looking at them
not good. Not
because
good at
no,
all.
it just looks so fake. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
I've got this baby handy.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's
So
terrible.
they had the Joy of Sex, and then they had the Kama Sutra. Do you remember that? They had the Kama Sutra. So they had
Yes.
the Joy of Sex came out, and then that was so successful that made millions that they brought this other one out called the Kama Sutra. And I worked on that too. So I worked on the graphics on that too. So and that was more explicit than the other one, the Joy of
Yeah, it would
Sex, would
be.
you believe? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it
so
would
under
be.
the banner of educational, and that was the
Yeah.
loophole. So literally they were
How did you
making
sit through it? That's what I want to know.
well. As I said, I think it all started out with Jane Fonda's exercise video, and
Yeah, the
Jane Fonda
fitness
used
one.
to wear those spandex,
Mm.
and then once they allowed that, suddenly Kelly Brook would come out with one, or who's the
Olivia
famous
Newton-John, I
Olivia
remember.
Newton-John came out with one, and there was one that was quite famous. That was it. Cindy Crawford's one, shot like a music
Yeah,
video, all
that was
black and white
crazy.
and color bits, and she's on the beach and she's moving, and it's like, it's obviously very sexual, but under the
Yeah.
banner of educational, and it's really. And they used to make millions doing that in those on VHS,
Well,
millions.
that's they all did it though. That's what I was
Yeah,
saying. They did it. They even had the geriatric one.
yeah. And they had people over here as well, like some of the celebrities, B-list celebrities, like Davina McCall had one out, and I think they still do them, but it's not as
Chugger.
successful as it.
Is it Chugger?
I don't know,
Guy's name
but
Chugger.
right, but as I said, right, it was they were making millions doing that, absolutely millions,
Yeah.
and that obviously used to take the mickey out of it because the Cindy Crawford one was very, 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 even though there was no nudity in it, the
Oh no, it was
positions
all
that
just
she
people to
was
watch
in
it. Yeah.
and stuff, and it was just, you could look at her all day. You could just look
Yeah.
at her all day. She's just
Oh
an
well, I mean,
amazing person. Yeah.
they still had what was it called? Error size. What was it called? Error size or something like that. It was called. And like
Uh,
those sort of ones that they'd show at like 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Aerobics,
Aerobics, yeah.
aerobic size, and all this weird
I mean,
stuff.
it's no different to what is it? The Baywatch, when they used to run slow
Oh,
motion down the beach, didn't they? It's no different to that,
I never
but it's in
liked
a bigger
Baywatch.
scale.
There was this
I didn't
weird
like.
shit
I
that they
watched that
did.
a couple of times.
They
That was
did
it.
this weird stuff with an octopus.
I did. Too.
They had
I,
a problem with a giant squid that come into the shore,
I
and it
think
was
that's when the
attacking the swimmers.
I think that was when the show was leaping. People were
No,
hardly
it went
watching it.
off. Oh, actually, funny you should mention that because I've got your
Oh,
favourites on.
X-Files.
Yes,
I love
and
Gillian Anderson.
oh,
She's
yeah,
gorgeous.
it was
Even now,
nice.
she's gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah, they always
absolutely
used to make
gorgeous.
fun of it. They go, "Oh, this is Gillian Anderson with a nose ring."
No, Gillian Anderson's
And I'm like, I
gorgeous,
don't really see her with a nose ring. But there you go. That's what she used to wear.
and she's obvious that she's quite an intelligent woman as well. When
Oh,
when you
yes,
see her being
very.
interviewed and stuff,
She's picking all
she
the right roles.
yeah, she's such a nice looking woman. I don't know what she's like in real life, but she's you can't fault her
Yeah,
looks. Very, very
I don't know. She's nearly 60, isn't she?
she still looks good though, man. Telling you, she still looks good.
Well, she's your age. So.
Well, yeah, thanks, mate.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I still think she's pretty hot.
She is hot. I think she's gorgeous,
Well,
personally.
she
I
got
do.
it. She got it on with a hairdresser. You'd like to work with her. I know you would.
I would love to work with her. I'd love to. Seriously, I think seriously, just joking aside a bit, she's a really decent actor.
Actor.
She makes
Yeah.
things come to
Well, she's done
alive.
better than Duchovny, as far as I'm
Oh
concerned.
God, yeah.
He can
Duchovny
only
looks
do one act, and that's it.
Yeah, Duchovny looks a bit old though. He looks really ragged these
Oh,
days.
yeah,
He just
yeah.
doesn't look. He looks his age now. But Gillian looks freaking gorgeous.
Well, I mean, she did that Margaret Thatcher, didn't she?
Yeah, that was a bit confusing, wasn't it? watching her as
What, you
Margaret
thought
Thatcher.
you looked hot, but then she's
That's what I'm
Margaret
saying. Then
Thatcher.
it's Margaret Thatcher. That's
I
very
don't.
confusing.
It's funny because, like, growing up in the 80s and that, like, I don't really understand why. I remember when she was prime minister and that, and,
Yeah,
like, after now she's gone, and
yeah.
it's like I hear how much people hate her. It's like, but you had her as your prime minister for, like, friggin' bloody nearly over 10 years. I still
Mm,
remember when she was on the goodies.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
she wasn't on the goodies, but they did the whole. They had her as a Vita.
But
And
the
she's
the
like,
reason why she stayed there for 10 years, I think it was
"You
because
look
of
totally."
the Falklands War, that she basically won that war, and she was making all decisions. And I think a lot of people, because of that, a lot of people voted for her again, and she stayed in power.
See, I
I think
don't
because
I
of
don't
that.
really understand the whole Falklands War thing. I don't. It
And nor
doesn't.
do I. Nor do I.
I don't
But
really know what happened. So
nor do I.
properly.
But I think it was because of that. I'm not sure. But also, she was the person that took away the milk from kids, because kids used to get milk for free in
Oh, we used
school.
to get it here too, but I
Yeah,
never had it. But my parents and that did.
yeah, we had it, and then she just pulled the funding for that, and kids couldn't get any milk in school anymore.
Well, I mean, so now they just do breastfeeding. They'll actually have breastfeeding by men.
On video. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
How to
So,
not get your hair in your breast milk?
oh dear. It's crazy, isn't it? As I said, it would be interesting. I reckon if you typed in Cindy Crawford exercise video on YouTube, you'd probably get it. You'd probably
Yeah,
definitely get it. But
yeah. I think.
but she,
Uh,
I don't know what she looks like today, but when she was in her prime, she was gorgeous,
oh, was she in a
absolutely
couple of
gorgeous.
movies as well? She was in a couple of
Yeah,
movies.
she starred in one big movie with one of the Baldwin brothers, and it flopped big time. It was an action film.
Adam Baldwin
Yeah,
or
an
Alec
action film.
Alec Baldwin.
I can't remember which one it was. But, yeah, but she still, you look gorgeous in that as well. But the film sucked. So,
What's the
but
name
yeah,
of
no, I think it's called Cindy Crawford Workout or Cindy Crawford something or whatever. I don't know, but you
Oh,
should be
this
able
has
to
probably
find
got
it though.
probably got
It's very famous. It was one of the biggest ones.
Oh
When she
yeah,
brought that
Cindy
out,
Crawford workout. There's also a
that's it.
Pepsi commercial.
That,
There's
yeah,
also a
well, there's a
Pepsi
Pepsi
commercial.
commercial, but
Shape Your
yeah,
Body Workout, 1992. Yeah, that doesn't look like a fitness video to me.
but as I'm saying, a lot of people brought it, and it wasn't. They brought it, and it wasn't. It wasn't to get fit. It was just to watch her.
I wonder
You know
what
what I
she
mean?
looks like now. I
Well, she
reckon she
probably
has.
still looks good, because she looks after
Mm,
herself. She looks after herself, so she probably still looks great, and looks after herself. I mean, I saw a picture of her recently, and she still looked okay.
okay, yeah. She kind of looks like that chick from Deep Space Nine. Yeah, she looks like a bit like Elle Macpherson now.
Mm.
A little bit anorexic.
Well, I mean,
She's your age.
is she? I
Yeah,
better give her a call
55.
then. Oi! Yeah, give her a call. I don't know. Yeah, I think she's still got it. I think Kelly Brook has lost it because she's kind of put on a lot of weight. But Cindy, I think she looks good. I reckon.
Well, sometimes they can't, they can't do anything else. You know.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, Cindy. Well, no, she still looks good. I'm seeing some pictures of her now. Cindy Crawford, 73 questions. Cindy Crawford. I put Cindy Crawford 2021. Let's see what she looks like 2021. Oh my God, she still looks good. Come on. Come on. Look at this woman.
Oh, no.
Okay, right.
Well, it's not my type.
All right. So her face is a bit craggly, but
Yeah,
she's looks like, you can tell she looks after herself because her body, she's not fat or anything.
yeah.
You can, because she's got wrinkles on her neck, you can tell that she's of age. But she still looks good though. She still, I mean, how old is she? Must be what, 60 something or something? I don't know. Maybe she's my age.
Who?
Maybe
Who?
50.
Who's
Cindy
this?
Crawford. Cindy
Oh no,
Crawford.
no, no. She's 55.
Oh, okay.
She was born in 1966.
I was born in 65, so
Okay.
so I'm 1 year. I'm 1 year older
She
than
likes
her.
older men. She went out with what was his name? Richard Gere.
That's okay. I mean, Richard Gere. Richard Gere still looks good as well.
Actually, I thought she'd be taller than 5'9", but there you go.
but she was huge when she was,
Oh yes, I do remember her when she was huge. It's the same with Elle Macpherson.
mm,
Couldn't go anywhere without hearing about the body. But
yeah.
that's what she was known for. And it's like, well,
1992
not good
that
for the
video
face.
came out.
Yeah, yeah.
1992. There's a scene in it where she's rolling her neck and she's wearing a swimsuit, and it's just ridiculous. You know, nobody brought this to get fit. No one, no
I'm
one
just
brought it to get fit.
I'm just looking. There's a movie here with I haven't watched Red Letter Media. I got stuck
Uh,
in a storm with some crazy ass people when they tried to force William Shatner onto their show. And I just said, "Oh, look, he's not interested." And then they all turned on me, and they're like, "Oh, you shut up, rah rah rah." And I'm like, "But he's not interested in coming on their show. He's already said it. So stop harassing him. You're literally harassing him now to come on the show."
mm,
And then eventually, I just thought, you know what? It's just that Red Letter Media is a bit toxic to me. Um,
yeah.
but I'm just looking. They got a video here with Frank Stallone. He's in a movie called Easy Kill.
Frank Stallone.
They're reviewing a movie called Easy Kill with Frank Stallone.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
And
Absolutely crazy.
I think they're into Frank Stallone at the moment because they've got another one that he was in called Terror in Beverly Hills.
I don't understand why they can't see that movie is terrible. But anyway, listen, I've got to go. I've got to go,
Yeah,
Matt.
all right,
But
let you go. Thank you
yeah,
so much for coming
that's all
on for
right,
this little
matey.
like 2022 stream. You've got to live it all over again.
Absolutely. You know what time is over here? Time is 3:55. It's almost 4 o'clock in the
It's
afternoon over here.
2:55 here, so it's 3 a.m. and I feel
Wow.
like watching some either Callan or I watch some Equalizer. I feel like doing that now. So
Listen,
thanks for
Happy
that.
New Year, mate. Happy New
Yeah,
Year.
thank you, and you too. And I
All
hope to
right.
see you in the new year. I hope you come on more.
Definitely, definitely. Anytime, mate. It's always good talking
All right.
rubbish.
Hey, Wendy. Thanks for being in the chat, Wen.
Cheers,
Nice
Wendy.
of you.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
We'll speak again, all right?
Yeah, we will. All right.
All right,
Bye,
matey. Take it
everybody.
easy. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.